It's Friday. You made it through another week, and so did we. Barely, but we did. Joining us this morning, though, we have a very special guest making his way back to Midnight's Edge. It's been too long. Too long. The Critical Drinker is back. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing very well, sir. Thank you very much. How are you?
Doing the best I can, especially now that you're here. We also have with us our Canadian friend, Mr. Paul Chato. How are you doing?
Thank you very much. It's good to be here again.
And we don't hold the Canadian part against him. Also joining us is Culture Casino. How are you doing?
Oh, wonderful. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be anywhere, and I'm glad to be awake. So I'm happy to be.
And you shaved.
I did, yeah. Somebody sent comics $100 super chat last night, so I went and shaved into a goatee.
You scared me coming back on screen, like a child seeing their father for the first time without a beard. It was just not right.
Sorry.
Yeah, you should be. Andre's also here. How you doing, Andre? Still having some computer issues? You're good and up and running now.
I'm good and up and running. I'm even awake after being on Drinker Stream yesterday, which is quite late.
That's what the open bar will do to you.
Yeah, exactly.
I hear ya. So yeah, we've had an interesting a bit of breaking news this morning from WDW Pro. I was kind of privy to it early in the week, and I think it's going to line up nicely with some of the Disney talk. So we'll get into all that and maybe some other things. We'll also ask Drinker a little bit about his project, of course, probably by the end of the show, before he leaves anyway. But let's say hello to the folks we got out there in the chat. We got Yippee-Ki-Yay here. We got Fresh Snow. Olaf Van Ness is here. We got Miguel Farah. Pete Den Katz here. See Maverick Christian out there. Hyper Guyver's here. Alex Ashgan. So many more. Thank you guys for being here. We appreciate it, Mr.
This always sounds like the old romper room where...
Doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, when she pulled up the magnifying glass and I see Billy.
I see Joey. But no, it's awesome. Everybody likes to get greeted, of course.
I agree. They want to hear their name.
Good morning, everybody. And I see we got Sander Hammerslag bringing in some ducks. He brought some ducks with him. In case anybody needs any ducks. So there you go. Let's see some super chats.
Hearing your own name is one of the reasons why people forget other people's names when they get introduced at parties. Because when someone introduces a couple of people, psychologically, you're waiting to hear for your own name to be spoken. That's why you don't hear other people's names, and that's why you don't remember other people's names at parties. So you just have to remember to not wait for your own name.
In other words, introduce yourself first, and then you can free up your mind to remember the others.
Fair play. Indeed. I always put it down to like alcohol-induced brain damage where I couldn't remember people's names, but there we go.
Well, whenever we did a film shoot, we'd have 50 to 100 people on TV. I'd memorize every single crew member.
Wow.
Holy crap.
Go in and there were members of the crew who didn't know my name, even though I was executive in charge of production. They would scurry away because they'd go in and say, "Hey, Bill, Frank, Sheila," and they wouldn't remember my name, so they scurried away because they were embarrassed. But that was fun. I mean, I think that's important. You got to acknowledge the crew.
Yeah.
Indeed. So Andre, should we start with a few super chats here, or should we?
No, let's do that.
All right, we got Callum Lyle sending in a few right off the bat. He says, "I saw that Proud Family reboot clip on Disney of them rapping, 'Slaves built this country and reparations,' and yeah, they're after kids. Even the N-word was said once in the episode."
Oh,
yeah. Did you all see this? Did you see this?
Yeah. No.
It went.
I'm
viral.
glad I didn't now.
Well, basically, it's just imagine the worst kind of thing that you would expect to be clipped from libs of TikTok, something that you would expect to see like leaked from like a university class or something like that. It was just like that, only animated for kids and on Disney Plus.
That is sinister stuff. Yeah, man, that's like Velma level.
It's bad because it targets 6 to 10-year-olds. I mean, primarily. If you just still shot throughout, believe the first couple of episodes, you will see books that are laden with CRT and similar neo-Marxist indoctrination
What's funny about this, Andre, now, before this show even, we had heard some stuff about this show way back when, didn't we? Like you were telling me.
I believe so. And then I think we're kind of like, oh my God, like that's so depressing and that's so disturbing that I can't even focus on doing that first.
Well, I remember we tried telling people about it because we're like, we don't have any frame of reference for the show. You're more than willing to have this news if you want it. And nobody seemed interested at the time.
Yeah.
And Callum Lyle, it is a cartoon for kids, basically. Yeah. It's supposed to be anyway.
It's pure indoctrination and no more than that. It's indoctrination into the accepted way of thinking as per Disney's own Ministry of Truth.
It's funny as well because we were just covering last night how Disney's having to lay off thousands of staff, that they're losing money hand over fist on Disney Plus, and it's because of stuff like this. I know this is just one tiny little thing, but it's just a microcosm of like where Disney is as a company and what their mindset is. Like, how many parents are gonna be happy for their kids to watch stuff like this? So many of them are just gonna be like, right, let's get you away from this, little Timmy. This is not good for you.
Well, I think the problem is, drinkers, most parents aren't paying enough attention to what their kids are watching. That's the other problem.
Well, I think that some may be considering.
Oh, I'm sure some are. Don't get me wrong, but yeah,
we learned from the Disney earnings call just a couple of days ago that in North America, that's the U.S. and Canada, and this is with all the tricks that they have at their disposal to try to boost up the numbers, they still were only able to justify a growth of 200,000 subscribers. For a platform like this, or for a service like Disney Plus, that's pretty anemic numbers. And it tells me that in reality, it's probably negative growth once you remove all the tricks that they have of trying to boost them. So obviously, some people must have seen that this stuff here, this ain't for kids, because you have She-Hulk, you have all these Marvel and Star Wars movies on Disney Plus, and still you only have a growth of 200,000 subs.
I think as well, like all of this stuff, none of it's as special as it used to be. There was a time when the idea of like, oh, I've got this streaming service where it's the only place I can watch Star Wars content. Awesome! Like every Star Wars movie or show that comes out, it's a real event. I've got to watch that. Or same with Marvel. New Marvel movie comes out. Awesome! Can't wait to see it. But now there's been so much of it, and so much of it has been mediocre at best, that it loses its interest, and so it loses its selling point for customers, particularly now when people are struggling just to get by. This would be the first thing on the list to cancel.
Well, I've brought this up before, Drinker, where basically Disney fucked itself. I think we're far enough in the show I can say that. They fucked themselves basically by taking the Vault system and putting it on streaming, because instead of continuing that idea through streaming, what did Bob Iger say? He said, everything's going to be available right away. Well, we come to learn that wasn't the truth. But what he still did, though, is they still put all their classics out there right next to the newer crap. So like when you put Little Mermaid up against Little Mermaid 2 and 3, or Cinderella up against Cinderella 2 and 3, it makes Cinderella worth no more than Cinderella 2 or 3. Right?
Yeah.
At least back in the day, they used to re-release these movies every 7 to 10 years in theaters, on video again, and then they would, put them back in moratorium, making them worth more, and they've quit doing that, and that's a big thing they've lost. And you're right, the quality over quantity. Well, we've talked about that with Marvel now for the past couple of years, because they've created more stuff in the last couple of years in Phase 4 than we've had in all the other phases put together, and none of it's been any good. Really, none of it.
The motivation for the Disney Plus channel is suspect. They don't make a cent on any movie or TV show that they put on it. You could complain that Apple Plus is a bit of a throwaway, but Apple wants to sell more Apple boxes, Apple TV boxes. They actually do have a motivation for adding content to their channel. Disney has none. It makes no sense.
Same with Amazon. Like their motivation is that they've got the best model actually, because if you want Prime, you want next day deliveries on all your Amazon stuff, which everyone uses. Right. You get this thing bundled in with it as well. It's just a little bonus. And so all of that enormous amount of business that they do subsidizes whatever entertainment losses they might incur. But yeah, Disney don't have that same motivator. They don't have that same reason to keep people on board with this.
The Prime thing is really good because not everybody shops every day, every week. Well, my son does because he's rebuilding a Subaru, but he's getting shipments daily on Prime. But for them, in between your shopping sprees, you can watch Prime TV and Prime Audio. So there is method to Amazon's madness, but there's none for Disney's.
Well, Amazon's an element of just it's the streaming wars, and so their hope might have been, well, if we just outcompete everyone else, we'll just kind of drive them out of business, and we'll just be the streaming service that can reign supreme, and then they can jack up the prices, do whatever they want.
They've really adopted that a la carte model, right? Like they've been able to get just about every other streamer service to use them as a hub. So that's their one model they've got that works for them. The other side of it is they have a situation where they still have growth yet, because a lot of people who have Prime Video up until recently didn't realize they had it because they had the Prime shipping like you're talking about. And so at one point it was like a 60-30 split. 60% of the people who had Amazon Prime had no idea they could watch Prime Video. They didn't even know it existed until like the recent years. Now that's flip-flopped. Now about 30% of the people who have it don't really realize that they can use it, but now 60% of the people have discovered it, let's say. So they have that aspect. But you also brought up the streaming war part, Drinker, and we are kind of in the middle, or I should say more or less on the other end of it, because we all knew this wasn't going to last too long, because pretty basically none of these guys can sustain themselves. We're seeing it with both companies right now on the streaming side of things. There's only a few streamers who've been able to manage to be sustainable in this system. You brought up one of them, Paul, before the show. You were talking about Pluto a little bit, which is kind of a smaller streamer here in the U.S. and Canada, I believe. I don't know if they stream anywhere else, but yeah, I mean, so these all are going to start coming down, I think, to that we're going to only have a handful left.
Well, you have to understand that this is cyclical, and this is pretty typical of large corporations that are afraid to lose out of any kind of technological shift. I was part of the Warner experiment in Florida and the Bell experiment in Canada, where they set up massive hundreds of millions of dollars worth of silicon graphic computers just to be able to serve 100 people in a community so they could be the first movers on streaming TV. And this was before the internet, before compression, before high-speed internet. And they lost billions of dollars, but everyone was racing to try to be the first in streaming. But sometimes the technology isn't there to be able to to actually execute. So there's always this race. Ton of money is spent. Everyone loses, like in the 2000s when there was the carnage
bubble.
The bubble. Yeah. There was the internet carnage bubble that burst. But then what happens is that everything that people dreamt about and wanted to be first movers in slowly creeps back in, and the technology bubbles to the surface, and then it becomes real. And that's what's happening now with streaming, is that all these big entities are afraid to lose out on it when everyone really should just sell their shows to Netflix and make money. It makes no sense.
I mean, that's the thing with Pluto, isn't it? They kind of like sold themselves, and that's how they made money. One of the winners here is also Sony, because they stayed out of it. And they sell their content to Netflix, who actually pays them.
Yeah.
And I was informed that Pluto is available in Europe and Latin America, so it is beyond the U.S.
Well, Pluto makes money on ads.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and we brought this up to Culture, and I've talked about this many, many times, that sooner or later they're going to have to get to an ad tier system, and then you also have the situation where we're going to lose a few of these, because Andre's poignantly pointed it out. Is it's basically Netflix is the equivalent of VHS, right? You have one format that everybody had agreed on, and now all these other streaming services are like everybody else trying to come up with their own VHS tape after the fact.
Yeah, right? They're all coming up with their betas and their setas and their datas and what have you. That's basically
their Unmatics and all that stuff. Yeah.
Here we have something that's perfectly functional and something that was about to become a standard, They're like, no, wait a minute, we want to be the standard.
Yeah, you're always going to get that haggling over it. But I mean, even Netflix, they're not doing tremendously well, are they? They've had to lay off lots of people. They've, they've had a lot of.
Well, they don't have the content they used to,
exactly.
So they don't have the subscribers.
That's it.
And they're also taking advantage of something that I think because everybody else is doing it, maybe they can shake some of the deadwood free. That's my thought.
Maybe. I mean, but this is the thing is how many of these streaming services are really going to last on the other end of this? That's the big question.
The smaller ones are going to fold. Like Paramount Plus has got to. It's not going to last more than a couple of years.
I don't know about Paramount Plus. That's the only one I would put on the maybe list because
really
they've got Taylor Sheridan. They've got this deal with Walmart right now, which is similar to the Amazon Prime deal. They are basically Paramount Plus is now basically Walmart's Amazon Prime. Like you can get them through their app. It's really weird.
I guess that's more of an American thing.
Yeah, so they have kind of surprised me on some of the moves they've made, but HBO Max is already talking about restructuring and reformatting and calling themselves something else. Disney Plus, we already know that they're going to have to keep jacking their price up. So these other ones that Peacock, they haven't really done much with it. I can get it for dirt cheap.
Well, and they recently Peacock removed their freebie as of January.
That was another thing, yeah.
22nd. Up until the 22nd, you could sign up and get their free ad tier. You can't anymore. It's $4.99.
Honestly, I'd argue really all that they have outside of older SNL and some other random shows like Cheers and stuff. Basically, all they've got, and I think that's actually on Paramount Plus too. Actually, I'm trying to remember now. But the only new thing they got is Yellowstone. That's it. That's the only thing Peacock really has that's keeping them alive, if you ask me. But otherwise, the rest of them, I couldn't be bothered to tell you what other streaming services are out there. There's at least a dozen more.
I just want to point out that was FedEx with my son's piston rings for his Subaru.
Case in point.
So you're letting your son know his piston rings are here. Your piston rings are here.
That was the buzzer.
There you go. Amazon working their magic.
And Mighty, I don't know if you can get it free anymore. Culture, do you know this or not? I think if you were already signed up before, they still have the free tier, but not anymore.
Yeah, I don't know how they're dealing with the legacy customers, but I would assume they're just going to let them stay because the last thing they need is an exodus of subscribers.
I thought I'd read somewhere to where if you already had an account prior to this date, that you would still get to use the.
Well, the numbers for Peacock have been very good since
they are good.
They bought. Relatively speaking, they've been adding some pretty good numbers since they bought the thing I just mentioned. That streaming service.
Pistons?
Pluto. Since they bought Pluto, they have a really good model where they will show a couple of shows from Peacock on there and then shove people to, well, why not pay for the service? I mean,
that was a huge mistake, right? That Paramount made was selling off the Yellowstone to Peacock for the first couple of seasons there. That was a huge error. So I can understand.
Well, don't they still get it, or where's the fifth season going?
I don't know, but it was a bad idea. So, because it was really the most popular thing on Peacock for a period of time.
Well, Paramount, at least you're right. They have the spin-offs. But anyhow, let's get back to these super chats here.
Yeah.
Speaking of discovery, Callum Lyle says, I discovered a new species of human called Hollywood sapien. I might film and document them in their natural environment like Jane Goodall.
Human's a bit of a stretch.
Yeah. They like to act human-like, but we haven't quite decided if they're human yet. ActionCom says, Drinker, will you be doing a production hell episode for The Day the Clown Cried? Lewis was bitter over the whole production and how it went down.
Oh, what is that again? That rings a bell.
I was going to say, okay, The Day the Clown Cried was a movie that Jerry Lewis made, I think it was back in the 60s, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. And it was a movie that was so friggin' bad
he
that
never released it.
He never released
it. And now it's supposed to be coming. Now some museum is getting it next year, I think it is. And you can actually go and view it at the museum, and that's it.
It's going to be released with Batgirl as a opening.
Yes.
I think it's been placed in the National Archives, but
or maybe it already has. Yeah, but yeah, it is one of those most notorious films ever. Yeah, because it's about a clown who. Okay, so get ready for this, kids. This is a dark story. It's about the clown that leads the kids into the gas chamber at a camp.
Yeah,
during World War II.
Now. Yeah.
It's a dumb idea to make a movie out of.
I was going to say that, since it's never really been released, it's a difficult one to do a production hell on because I don't even know what it looks like ultimately. But then, yeah, I've done other things.
There has been a lot of stuff that's been released from it over the years, Drinker. But even people have reconstructed stuff online as best they could. But like I said, in the next year or two, it's June 2024. Thank you, Fatty. It's supposed to be available at this museum. So I don't know if they're ever going to do like an official release of it at all. But
someone will take their camera phone in or something and get it. But,
I would imagine eventually they'd have to work something out. But yeah.
My next one was going to be Waterworld. That was going to be my next one.
Oh, dude.
That was
I just watched that. Well, you know what's funny about that is how the misconception of how that movie bombed at the box office when it really didn't. What killed the movie's momentum is it didn't sell any darn toys. That's what killed its momentum.
I think it did okay, and I think on home media and stuff.
On home video, it did great.
I think it's just more the troubled production that it had. Like they had disaster after disaster.
Yes, they did. Yeah, I love the guy who came up with the story. He's like, I was working for Corman at the time, and Corman, you could throw a rock and you'd have a Mad Max ripoff. So I'm like, I'm going to do that, but I'm going to put this one on the water. That'll be cheap. And he's like, the first thing everybody would tell me was when they would read the script, they're like, this is going to cost a fortune. Because he did not understand the trouble that he were going to have to go through. But yeah.
Well, yeah, I think Spielberg said, don't shoot on the open water.
He's like, I talked to
do it in a tank somewhere. Just do not go in the open ocean. And of course, they went on the open ocean.
Yeah.
And then what happens? Disaster.
He's like, I went into Steven Spielberg. I asked him about it. And he goes, what should I do for this? Do you have any advice? Don't.
Yeah.
He's like, don't do it.
Cameron built a giant boat and a tank in Mexico.
Yes.
To shoot
so he could sink it, yeah.
Well, what's weird is we almost got a much different film. I don't know if you're aware of that too. I'm sure you are, Drinker, where the initial idea was even the smokers were going to be mutants, and it was more of a Planet of the Apes type film.
Yeah. I think Coster interfered with it a lot, didn't he?
Yes, yeah.
I thought the whole idea was dumb. I hope it doesn't affect your review, Drinker.
It's just talking about the production, really. I give a little tiny bit about the movie itself, but it's more just about how difficult
it's one of those movies you have to turn your brain off to be able to enjoy. Yes.
I remember watching it in the theaters and just being like, haha, the boat with the the three hulls that Kevin Costner cruises around in looks really cool. I think that was enough to keep young me amused. And yeah, you look back on it now, it's like, well, as a technical achievement, it was pretty good, but the story's absolute garbage.
All the steel in Hawaii for a whole year.
Yep.
The film.
They built that whole city
and it sank.
Water.
It sank in a typhoon.
It did.
Yeah. And they had all the problems that Spielberg had with Jaws added on with more problems, plus Kevin Costner. And as we've seen this last week, Kevin Costner's still going to Kevin Costner.
He does.
He was at the top of his hubris.
Right?
During that movie.
Yeah.
And he's back at it again. It's like, you can't change a bit, Kenny.
No. I think Waterworld and The Postman pretty much sank his career in the 90s.
I would say Wyatt Earp and The Postman, but yeah.
Yeah, they did. Waterworld wasn't the flop that it was made out to be.
It was just the beginning of the end. People forget about Wyatt Earp. That's the thing. That was a huge disaster. It didn't make any money either. Robert says Bale rumored to be in a Batman cameo in Flash. Yeah, I heard he was supposed to be in it just in a filmed, from the movie itself. Flash goes through a bunch of time tunnel things.
I've heard that they're going to dig up the corpse of Adam West and put him in it.
I'm not kidding. No, you're not. Well, he's supposed to make a cameo appearance in that too.
Just getting back to Costner, I think his egregious loss of his English accent was worse than what Dick Van Dyke did in Harry Potter.
Robin Hood.
Yeah.
Robin Hood. That was so laughably bad.
I remember it's funny. I remember as a kid really liking that movie, and it's like Alan Rickman was
It's
so cool.
still fun, yeah.
But then it's you look at Kevin Costner, and he's an absolute plank of wood throughout that entire movie.
Well, it's not so much that as you have everybody else speaking in such broad British accents, and you got Kevin Costner talking down here, barely trying to hide his.
But at the beginning, he does have a smattering of an accent, and then
he tried. Yeah.
I'm not entirely certain an American audience would have noticed.
We made fun of it at the time. That's why they have that line in Robin Hood Men in Tights.
It was successful. It was a successful movie, maybe because of the song.
Oh god, that song! That was, I swear, in the UK, that was playing on like the charts for about a year after that movie came out.
And it was
you couldn't escape it.
See, the funny thing was Robin Hood had the same issue that Waterworld had. The only difference was Robin Hood cost like half as much.
Yeah.
It didn't sell toys. It did well in theaters, did well on video. Same thing with Waterworld. Waterworld cost so darn much at the time. That was the other problem.
Well, we were talking about this last night as well, that, the reason that the Batman movies got so ridiculously campy was just to sell toys. Like, that was the overriding demand from the studio. We have to be able to sell toys, and so they just got Joel Schumachered into the ground. So, it's such a shame when you see the Tim Burton version, what could have been if they'd kept on that tone.
Did they really sell Batman with nipples?
I hope they did.
Yeah,
they didn't put him on the toy, I don't think, but...
Are you sure about that?
They might have.
Did they not give Batgirl nipples as well in her outfit?
No,
she has little nipples. She does? No, she does on the costume anyway. Even Joel Schumacher said she does. Yeah, she's got little nipples.
Yeah, I'm sure I saw a production still, and it's like, yeah, she's definitely got them. I'm going to do a production hell on that as well, because apparently that was a bit of a nightmare to get done as well.
I
feel bad for Joel.
I will say that the Americans, as much as you guys are good at selling stuff, you've got nothing on the Japanese who do all those Power Rangery kind of toei, human cartoon shows where every single year the hero has got a plethora of new devices and weapons.
Yeah.
And they're just selling tons and tons of toys. And it's fun. I mean everyone knows what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, back in the day, like, what was, things like He-Man and G.I. Joe, those cartoons were just made to sell toys. Like, literally, that's all their only purpose.
Literally, yeah.
But you had the luck that some of them...
But they had really good storytellers behind them.
Yeah.
Especially He-Man. And in the case of He-Man, it was the production company Filmation that was able to take the concept and imbue it with life. It was a toy, and they imbued it with life, so it became something more. But then, of course, it can easily go the other way around, where you have like the Batman movies of the 90s, like Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, which had life to begin with, and then they sucked it out of it in the name of pure commercialism. So it goes both ways.
Well, the studios have always been the studios.
Well, after some research here, visually, I see no nipples on any Batman Forever toys.
I was going to say, I don't think they made it on the toys. That's Forever, though. But what about Batman and Robin? That's a good question.
All right, I'll go looking for that now.
I don't know. They were all pretty standard back then. They just basically kept using the same molds for each movie.
Are you going to have any toys for your film, Drinker?
Yeah.
Well, whatever I make, there's going to be nipples on it.
There better be.
That. Even if it's like a gun or something, I'll put nipples on it.
Put nipples on the gun, yes.
Action figures.
Yeah.
I think men would enjoy that if you put nipples on guns. I think gun sales would go up even more.
Can I combine boobs with guns somehow? Like just the things that guys like
boob
most?
Gun.
Yeah.
Well, Austin Powers did.
Yeah, exactly. There we go.
Fembots. There you go. Yeah.
So basically, you're saying that the band Guns N' Roses had the wrong idea. It should have been Guns and Boobs. It would have been.
This is like a hot toy, though. This is a hot toy.
I know, but at least they got the nipples in there.
Oh,
of course they do.
And he's got a basket action.
He does, yeah. This is something Campy would have no trouble finding.
Look at the crotch.
Yeah. Anyway,
he's
I love it.
He's excited.
Did you guys hear about that big issue they were having during Batman Forever? Is that Val Kilmer was pissed because Chris O'Donnell's codpiece was bigger, so they went and made him a bigger codpiece.
That sounds like a very Val Kilmer thing to do.
Yeah.
Wait, now, correct me if I'm wrong, right? Did he not drop out of Batman and Robin at the last minute so he could go and do Island of Dr. Moreau?
There's two sides to that. Yes, that's part of it. The other part of it is the unsaid rumor is that he had a thing against Arnold Schwarzenegger because Val, I guess, went up for the part of the T-1000 and didn't get it. And it was because of Arnold, I guess. And so that was the rumor. This is just a rumor that went around, is that he quit because the studio hired Schwarzenegger, and he said it's either Schwarzenegger or me, and they're like, well, see you later, Val. You know, because it was Arnold fucking Schwarzenegger, right?
Did he actually think he was going to get Arnold Schwarzenegger out of T2?
Yeah.
No, he was, but he was mad that he didn't get the part. So he's like, okay, I'm going to swing my dick here now that I'm Batman. And again, this is just a rumor. I can't have nothing to verify this or any like interviews to go by necessarily that I could point to. But that the rumor is that, so on Batman and Robin, he said to the studio, it's either me or Arnold. And they said, well, see you later, Val, because Arnold Schwarzenegger's a bigger star than you are.
Val Kilmer was his single greatest enemy. You know, he just...
And that's why I believe the story.
So terrible, he just destroyed his own career in the 90s.
That's Hollywood modus operandi. That's standard procedure.
I guess, like, you always hear the stereotype of like the prima donna movie star, and I guess some of them are like that to greater or lesser extents. I imagine some of them are all right. Like, surely there's got to be a few who are just like down to earth.
Keanu Reeves is one of the only ones I know of.
Part of the problem too is that once you become a star, it's not always the actor that's the asshole; it's their entourage.
Yes,
and their handlers.
Yes,
to show that they are actually doing something. I've experienced this.
It reminds me of Tropic Thunder, Matthew McConaughey as the agent. And he's just like, he spends the whole movie arguing about getting TiVo in the room. It's just like the most pointless demands.
But that's exactly correct, is that they have to justify their existence. So they turn the relationship you have with that star into total hell, even though the star is isolated from it and they choose not to deal with it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, these people are children, generally speaking.
Yeah.
That's usually what I say. But yeah, I mean, as far as like actors that aren't complete children, like, just a few that I've heard of. Like Keanu.
Yeah, no nipples on these guys. So, sorry.
Pretty much any actor that doesn't live in Hollywood.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure there's some pretty reasonable actors living in Hollywood.
I know, I'm just being facetious, but yeah. Considering at the time, though, these aren't that bad. They don't have the nipples, but...
Yeah. They've got a Stretch Armstrong look about them. They're like really weirdly proportioned.
It's a really strange Kenner toy.
I've been in meetings where the entourage were horrible, and then the actor walks in and just tells everyone to shut up, and then everything's reasonable.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of somebody,
so frustrating to deal with people like that.
I say somebody who can come in and
frustrating.
Tell us to shut up would be Valiant Renegade, because he was the one who helped drop that news this morning.
Hey, man.
Hey, good morning. Good to see everybody. Oh, thanks for having me. It's kind of a weird day for me because I'm not so stuck in the office, because when you work and your office is on a parade route during Mardi Gras season, you tend not to want to hang around there and wait to get stuck in traffic and closed streets. So glad to be here instead. Trust me.
Let's get into it, Valiant, because WDW Pro, yourself, and hapless victim Paul Chato all dropped a video today. Chato, of course, was there basically so everyone could have fun, and with his reactions. The link to that video is in the description. And since we have you here and we have the drinker here, I would love to get the drinker's take on this as well. But for those that have not yet had time to see Valiant, yours and the WDW's Pro's video, why don't you introduce it? I'll just set it up, basically saying that Discovery and their master plan for Warner is essentially to fix it and flip it at a higher price. Valiant, take it away and give us the summary.
Yeah, it was interesting. When I knew when my phone rang at midnight Friday last week and Pro was calling, I'm like, something's not right. And he shared the news that he got from a source that had been reaching out with various things, and It's after hearing it, for those of you who saw the video, you know what we're talking about. But for those who haven't, the bottom line is this. Now, there's been news out there in even the financial trade publications in the last few months that, would Zaslav sell Warner Brothers, or he's going to try to sell it very soon. And I kept telling people, no, that's unlikely, because all those trades were referencing that kind of a flip would happen in the next, say, 12 to 24 months. I said that's almost financially impossible because of how much, obviously, the stock price of Warner Brothers has gone down since the Reverse Morris Trust spinoff that they did from AT&T and then with Discovery. Zaslav would want to wait till he can get the ground very firm under his feet, financially speaking, before he would try to make an offer for a sale, because obviously you want to try to get the highest price you can when you flip it. This 3 to 5 year timeline now fits that bill. And the news that we got is the reason that people kind of had a okay response to what James Gunn announced and Safran announced is because it's effectively a quote-unquote soft reboot. They're trying to get just a few chess pieces in place on the board, not only for DC, but what did David Zaslav also talk about on his first earnings call as CEO back in, over the summer when we covered that live on my channel? He said he wants to work with J.K., as in J.K. Rowling. He wants to get Harry Potter going again. All this is to set up a soft reboot to get a few little pieces on the board so that a big buyer can come in. And by that, think Apple, think Amazon. And I've been telling folks now for the last year, Apple has been the 800-pound gorilla in the room with all the cash. And they have done almost nothing. They've been very quiet. They have a proprietary streaming service. They've done some very good stuff on it, but it's not much of a library. They can buy anyone they want. They could buy Paramount right now virtually for cash if they wanted to. Amazon, of course, is another player in the market, but it's going to be one of those two, I think. But that's what's happening now. That's why we got the setup that we got from Gunn, and it kind of ends at 2025. You look at it and it's like, okay, but this was supposed to be a 10-year plan. Where's the rest of it going? Where's the other 8 years? They're there. They have what they referred to as a Plan A. And Plan A gets executed if and when a big buyer like an Amazon or an Apple comes in with a mountain of cash that could very easily drop the CapEx, the cash on this, to make this big, bold MCU thing happen. Right now, Warner doesn't have cash like that, obviously. So that's the plan is there, but they can't reveal it unless and until we get to that point a couple of years down the road and a big buyer comes in.
And then presumably that buyer would be allowed to chime in on, yeah, we love this plan, or how about we do a plan B instead that has this, and that? Because then presumably, and this is also something that was said, is that then they're not going to start with this immense storytelling right away. It's going to be more loosely kind of standalone-ish adventures, which could be a reason why the slate that we got so far was so lackluster in a way. Certainly I felt it was lackluster. Drinker, what did you think about the DC slate that James Gunn announced?
What did I think?
Exactly,
it was
right?
Just an absolute yawn fest. There was nothing there to get excited about. The only thing, I guess, was the Superman movie, and I'm not thrilled about that for reasons that we've discussed plenty of times, like the recasting of Henry Cavill and so on. It felt like they, really shot themselves in the foot and got rid of the one actor that everyone agreed was really right for that role. And yeah, like what you're describing there, that 3 to 5 year plan to ultimately sell it. It's gonna take several years at least to get these movies and that they've got planned into production, get them out there, and rebuild their reputation as a franchise, because right now it doesn't exist. They've got a bunch of disjointed stuff. Some of it was weirdly successful, some of it was absolutely, disastrous. That is all going to take time to resurrect, and I guess as a buyer, I wouldn't want to take it on unless there was some kind of value demonstrated in that brand, and it doesn't seem to be yet. So it's going to take time for sure.
You're right, and the key points for you guys out there watching to understand is the idea. Like I said, get it set up get a little interest going. But the big thing is that if you get it to a potential buyer, obviously the deal comes. It's a package deal. You get Gunn and Safran with it if you buy it. You get their plan that's already there. And it gives that buyer the ability, as Andre pointed out correctly, to at that point, they still have a relatively blank slate to take it in any direction they want, but they have all the pieces there.
Or I was going to say, at that time is when his contract will be just about up to where you can decide whether or not you do want to renew it or not, basically, is where you're setting.
Think of it like a professional athlete or something. When you trade with another team, you want to trade that player while there's still value on the contract, while there's still time left on it, so you can get something good in return, whether it's the NFL, the NBA, Major League Soccer, doesn't matter. That's how it all works. This is no different. This is hockey. This is no different. This is no different.
Yeah. I mean, obviously the gold standard for this kind of thing was Marvel when Disney bought them over, because they had several very successful movies under their belt, and no real baggage there. Like, they'd all pretty much been successful. They had good momentum behind them. DC on a film has the exact opposite. They've got a ton of baggage. They've got, a divided fan base. You've got people still wanting the Snyderverse restored. You've got people mad about Henry Cavill getting ditched. You've got questions over what on earth is going to happen with the Flash movie and Aquaman 2. You've still got to try and keep this old franchise limping along a little bit until you can do your reboot. And I think it's really a hard reboot. That seems to be what they're doing here, because there's no real remnants of the original getting carried over. Apart from Suicide Squad, maybe, which is, funnily enough, what James Gunn's wife is part of. But
you don't even have any announcements that are connected to any of that after Superman either. Sorry, Andre.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's exactly what I was about to say, what you pointed out there, Tom, because remember what he said in his presentation. The first part of the Gunverse is the continuation of the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker with stuff that was already in development. And then after that, Chapter 1 begins for real with Superman, which tells me that's where they're hard rebooting. So that's just the end cap of the post-Snyderverse.
For sure. I mean, as soon as I think Aquaman 2 is the last one that's currently in development that's going to come out, as soon as that's out the gate and it's finished its theatrical run, that's when you'll get the announcement of right, we're shit canning the whole thing, we're starting fresh.
Yeah, or just after the final series on HBO Max, because I do believe that Waller will be the final thing, and after that is when I say, right, now we're rebooting.
Yeah,
that's what I'm thinking. Mr. Chato, you were there for the revelations.
Well,
what say you about this?
My main thought is that you buy management, and if your deal, I worked with Apple. And Apple buys talent, and often the code that they bring along with them is not as important as the fact that the people who can code are coming over to Apple to bring this technology with them. So I would imagine that that's their thinking, and they're not going to be interested in Warner's without the talent to keep it going. As far as what Gunn is doing. I mentioned this analogy last night, and that is I think they're reseeding the soil with alfalfa and trying to make it fill it with nutrients again. That's why this stuff is not so overwhelming, because it's just fertilizer. You could take the fertilizer analogy multiple ways, but I'm thinking of it as getting things going again. And I think it's actually a good strategy to not swing for the fences. The Superman thing is interesting. We'll see. I mean, proof is in the pudding, but first they have to get through these weird films that they inherited, and hopefully
they're nothing but holdovers. And it's we're just going to try and minimize our losses. We'll maintain the facade that this is some kind of viable universe that can still go on until they're out, until we've made our money, and then we'll can it.
Well, they kind of have to, right? This weekend, the Super Bowl kicks off, and they've got Flash trailer, which is our first official trailer of this movie that's been being made for 22 years. In fact, I think it officially has been shooting longer than The Rise of Palpatine.
Whoa.
It's got so much, like, all of these movies have got negative baggage. You've got Ezra Miller and all of his issues with Flash. You've got Amber Heard, who's still attached to Aquaman 2. Like, man, there's
well,
so
the
much
beauty
to,
of that,
to deal with
Drinker, was, I mean, a lot of the rumors I was hearing were pretty spot on up until James Gunn came into the picture, and then I quit hearing everything. But up to that point, until James Gunn came in, they were looking at replacing Ezra Miller. They were looking at replacing Amber Heard. They were looking at possibly trying to reconfigure things as they were. So, I mean, part of me, I'm with you. I'm like, I don't understand why they got rid of Cavill and all that business. But at the same time, I just let it go because I'm like, look, I'm to the point where there's so much baggage just with all this stuff that even when I look at Superman now, I don't see Superman anymore. I see Henry Cavill. So I mean, unless he picks, somebody who's horrible at the role, I'm ready for somebody new to be Superman. Because I haven't really had that in so long that, not since really Christopher Reeve, basically, where I felt like I looked at an actor and they were Superman.
He was good. Christopher Reeve was.
Yeah, I think, well, it's nothing wrong with Henry Cavill. I just think he's gotten too big for the role now.
But
I think there's just too much baggage.
Even the Christopher Reeve thing, I have objections to even the second film where the bad guys were wearing dancer outfits. Sparkly dancer outfits.
They looked fabulous, Paul.
And then the third movie was wretched. So there's no guarantee that having a good Superman, a good actor, is going to save your movie.
You didn't like the men's ballet unitards?
I was gonna say, outside of the costumes, I don't know if anybody will agree with you because most people actually like Superman 2 more than they did 1.
It was okay. I thought it was pretty good.
I prefer the Donner cut. I was just gonna say, yeah.
I think everyone references that.
I didn't see the Donner cut.
It's a better version outside of the ending. I don't know why Richard went with the original ending, but other than that, it's a much more superior cut.
Wasn't the second movie done by not Lasseter?
Richard Lester.
Richard Lester? Wasn't the second movie done by Richard Lester?
Well, they shot Superman and Superman 2 simultaneously. So by the time they got to a point where they're like, well, we're running out of money. They had about 70% of 2 shot and roughly about the same of part 1 shot. And the Salkinds and the other people were like, look, just get the first movie done so we can get it out and make some money so we can even finish the second film. And in between there, when the movie became a huge success, they fired Richard Donner. They brought in Richard Lester, had him reshoot a bunch of stuff because the director has to shoot at least 50% of the movie to get credit.
Oh.
So all that stupid crap in Paris, some of the dumber shit that people don't like about Superman 2 is a lot of that's Richard Lester.
Which is why they gave him all of film 3.
Yes.
Yeah. What was the reason for firing Donner?
He did not get along with Pierre Spengler at all. In fact, they supposedly had either a full-on fight on the set, either verbally or I've heard versions of it where they actually got to fists. And he was booted from the set for the rest of the shoot.
Wow.
And then after the movie was done, they told Richard, you're no longer needed.
Wow.
I didn't know that.
And what they did is they took the ending for part 2, they slapped it onto part 1. So the original ending of part 2 was actually him going back in time and fixing shit. Because after the destruction of Metropolis and everything like that. The original ending of part 1 is he just ended up stopping both missiles in time. That's the original ending. But the result was throwing the one out in space, let the bad guys go.
Right. Okay. That makes sense.
I'm going to be the only person here, but I really liked Superman 3, and I don't care what you say.
I like Superman 3.
It's got Richard Pryor in it. Come on.
Is that the one with the big supercomputer thing?
As well.
Yeah, it's kind of got a proto-Brainiac kind of thing going on.
I always remember the bit where, the woman gets, sucked into the computer system and, turned into
That's what I mean.
Thing.
That's what I'm talking about,
That was fucking terrifying as a kid. It was horrible.
Right?
Not only that, as Office Space points out, that's actually a very ingenious idea as long as you don't fuck up the decimal point. I'm only screwing up some mundane thing like that. Mundane? That's hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's not mundane.
Office Space.
It was so good. And it took it all at once.
What? Yeah.
So good.
I always screw up some stupid mundane detail.
Hollywood does not know computers.
No, I know. Well, that's what I love about Superman 3 too. Is it's irreverence and it's fun. But 4 was just horrible.
Yeah, I think Christopher Reeve pretty much disowned it, didn't he?
Well, it was sad because that was his baby, and it was Canon that killed it. Really, they took away all the money.
Yeah. Who was the guy that was in 2.5 Men, and he was like playing one of the like little
Gutenberg?
punk kid? No,
it's what's his face? He plays Lex Luthor's nephew, and now he plays. Lex Luthor.
Yeah, that's the one. Whatever his name is, like, but I remember a story from him.
John Cryer, yeah,
John Cryer, that's it.
Ducky,
and yeah, he was really excited, to be on this movie. It was one of his first big roles. And they were getting ready for the premiere, and he's like, "Oh man, it's like it's great that we're." He spoke to Christopher Reeve, and he's like, "This is pretty awesome." My first big movie, and Christopher Reeve said to him, "Yeah, don't get excited. This is gonna absolutely tank. It's awful."
Well, they took the movie away from him, and it got destroyed. Yeah.
The budget wasn't there.
It was set up on a bad premise to begin with. That's the problem. And Christopher Reeve was told that by several people at DC, that this is a reason why we don't tackle this story with Superman, is because he could end nuclear war like that. And that's a problem. So like you don't want to really get into that kind of crap. And he didn't listen to him, and between that and the whole Nuclear Man idea and everything just kind of fell apart. Canon took away all their funding. I'm surprised they actually afforded to get Gene Hackman back, but yeah. Other than that, it was a sad, sad time. But I think we're headed towards a different kind of time here with DC, but we'll have to wait and see here. I think that's interesting, Valiant, that you bring it up, because I said, that sounds a lot like what they're doing over at Disney right now in sorts, because there's some people thinking that that's why ESPN's been spun off as so...
I mentioned that yesterday in kind of a post. We covered the earnings call live, and then I did a video post-earnings call wrap-up, basically saying that Disney caved to Peltz. They did. They gave Peltz everything he asked for.
Completely.
And so he agreed. Yeah,
so explain that, because I've been reading in the trades that Peltz lost.
This is why I have a YouTube channel.
Cover for Iger.
Yeah.
That's why.
Peltz won everything. I mean, he asked for A, B, C, D, E. Disney gave in the first 5 minutes of Bob Iger talking on the phone call, okay, we're going to agree to A, B, C, D, and E. Peltz was like, okay, I'll drop my fight.
Did he get a board chair?
No, he didn't need it.
Oh,
he got everything he wanted without going through with the proxy. He got everything he asked for without having to finish the proxy fight. And I told people this, and I warned people this 4 days before the earnings call. I said, Nelson Peltz, doesn't matter what happens with the board fight. He already won. Why? He bought Disney stock for $85 to $90 a share before he started the fight. When he got involved, what is it worth now? 110, 115. He already made about a 30+% return on investment in a matter of 3 to 4 months.
That's
Peltz
hundreds
wins.
of millions, because remember, he bought almost $1 billion worth of Disney shares, which have now increased 30% in value. So victory Peltz. And not only that, he said in his statement, because he went and he changed the Restore the Magic website to, we now congratulate Iger. We are very pleased with what we were able to do. And there was an ominous threat. We will continue to be watching, because that is exactly what Iger also knows. Like, he caved completely.
The thing is, all of this stuff though is just delaying the problem if they don't fix the quality of their output.
Yeah, that's
their
true.
Creative output, because you can slash jobs and you can cut back on expenditure. Fine, that might balance the books for a while. But if your income keeps going down because you're producing crap content, that's not going to fix it. It's just delaying the inevitable. Indeed. And that's not something that's going to change under Iger, is it?
No,
he's just as committed to all the ideological garbage that they've been pumping out for the past 5 years. Yep. They're not going to change that.
Feige made small grunty sounds to the effect that they can't make movies that are so ideological that, and I'm just paraphrasing, that they're also not entertaining. So
he said something like, he said, and
his
go ahead.
His premise seemed to be like, we have to get better at hiding the messages that we're trying to get. That's kind of what he's doing. It's just like we have to be a bit more subtle, but we're still going to be saying all the same things, just a little bit quieter, you know.
And if you've ever been to Disney and you know the culture of the office cubicles, it is very radical. And the ground troops there, I don't think are going to allow any of these changes.
Yeah.
Well, look, one of the things, and look, Drinker, you're totally correct on that, right? The content has to change, and that's what we always complain about. The quality of the product has to be good enough for the audience to keep paying the dollars long term. But that's not specifically what Peltz was going after, although you read between the lines, long term, that's what Disney has to do. And I thought it was interesting that one of the very first things that Iger came out on the phone call and said, oh, by the way, it's like he just had this thought last night and threw it in the script. We're going to make Frozen 3, and we're going to make Toy Story 5, we're going to make Zootopia 2. And then that night, what happened on Twitter? Tim Allen tweets out, guess what? I'm back as Buzz Lightyear. I'm like,
yeah,
they know they got hosed. They know they got hosed with that $200 million turd that they lost back over the summer. And then with Strange World, made it even worse. I mean, it's been a disaster. All of which, by the way, was greenlit by Bob Iger.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. Indeed. But yeah, you're right, Drinker, that and this is why I'm not too optimistic about Disney going forward. Because Bob Iger, and not only Bob Iger, but also Disney's biggest shareholders, because Bob Iger, he's not just a CEO, he is also Disney's single biggest individual shareholders. And the two biggest corporate shareholders are BlackRock and Vanguard. And the three of them, they're all deeply, deeply invested into ESG and everything that goes with it. And all this, the message, what that really is the DEI component of ESG. That's what it is. That's why it's there. And that's not going to change, exactly as you correctly pointed out, Drinker, from the podcast that both Chato and Culture referenced. What Kevin Feige basically has learned is that we just have to be better at hiding the message. We have to try to do things more entertaining, but we're still going to have the message in there. What he doesn't understand is that the two are mutually exclusive. Because when you have that message there, and it's not a humane message, it's not like a basic common sense decency message. No. It's something completely different. It's something inhumane. It is something indecent. And that's what the message is. And that's what they're going to put in there. So it's going to be something that will always detract from otherwise entertaining movies. My go-to example there, which I think is kind of like what they're going to go with, is The Batman, which is a movie that at first glance could be construed as entertaining. The first half of it, I argued in my review, is the best Batman movie there is. But then there is the matter of the subtext and the message in it. And what's the message? Well, it's a pure celebration of Great Reset, New World Order, all of these things. That's what it is. All of that is right there in the subtext. And that's probably the way that Marvel will be headed down going forward. Now, will they win audiences back that way? I kind of don't think so, because this still precludes them from making fully entertaining movies again. What say you, Drinker?
I mean, I think Marvel in particular have got to be careful with where they go with Phase 5, because it's pretty well accepted now that Phase 4 was a bit of a flop. Yeah, you had individually successful movies on occasion, but not to the extent that they would have expected at this point. And so some of that is down to franchise fatigue for some people, like superhero fatigue. Some of it is down to the sheer volume of stuff that's come out. It's exhausting. Some of it is the messaging that has gotten increasingly obnoxious and puts people off. I think people have a tolerance for this up to a point, beyond which you can't suspend your disbelief anymore, because you realize you're not being entertained anymore, you're being preached to. And I think a lot more and more people have reached that point with it and gotten turned off again. And so they are going to have to be very careful with how they launch Phase 5 and how they try and incorporate those messages in if they're really set on doing it, because they're on shaky ground now. They are not where they were 5 or 6 years ago.
Well, you carry on. I was going to say, speaking of Phase 5, I'll be seeing Ant-Man on Wednesday.
There you go. Let us know how you don't like it.
Yeah.
So
I think everybody's weary. I think that what Drinker said's right. I'm just worn out. They've bombarded the audience with content, and none of it's been particularly good. Outside of No Way Home, was there any of these 19? And I believe that, correct me if I'm wrong, but there were 19 parts of this last phase. Were you entertained by any of that? Was there anything outside of No Way Home that was enjoyable?
Not really, no. Yeah, I think it was a case of suffering through most of it. None of the movies really grabbed me. Eternals was an absolute snooze fest. Black Widow was a bit of a disaster. Multiverse
It shouldn't have been. Black Widow could have been great without much difficulty.
Absolutely. We all hope for good things from that, because it seems a great chance for them to do something along the lines of The Winter Soldier. Espionage, a little bit more mature, a little bit more dark and complex, and just another goofy adventure. So rubbish. None of the TV shows really grabbed my interest. About the only one that I think got off to a good start was WandaVision. I thought first few episodes, cool, good premise. I like the style, quite inventive. And then it just devolves into your usual Marvel CGI fest nonsense. And as for the rest of them, I didn't even watch Hawkeye. I was so bored by it. Loki was completely destructive to Loki's character. Falcon and the Winter Soldier was just all about... It was basically a Black Lives Matter recruitment video spread over an entire season.
Yeah, kind of like that animated thing they just put out. Well, that was even more on the nose. But yeah, sorry, carry on.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there was any other TV shows that they made. I didn't even watch Miss Marvel because
Moon Knight.
Moon Knight, yeah.
Moon Knight, Loki, all that crap.
He seemed, I don't even know the character that from the comics, but he seemed like he would be really cool. He just seems like a cool character. Like he's got a good look and stuff. But again, they just made him into a joke for the most part. And yeah, Ms. Marvel I didn't even bother with because it seemed just like some high school comedy thing.
I watched it.
Was it any good?
The first episode was excellent in a Buffy the Vampire kind of way. Yeah. And then they lost the plot. The show needed to be girl finds power, has to deal with it while dealing with the troubles of high school and the dating and boys and being chunky and blah, blah, blah. Instead, they shipped her off to Pakistan and she's finding other people with powers. And they did the Marvel thing where the ending was way too stupid and way too big. Instead of just, it's a TV show. This is the formula. You repeat it for at least the first season. At least the first season. Girl with superpower is dealing with high school while doing this superpower stuff on the side. It would have been great. And the family was great. You got that wonderful kind of, ethnic food, a little bit of spice in it that was just enough to make it fun. And they just forgot about it. They abandoned that first episode, which to me was disappointing. They don't know how to make a series.
I keep wondering, and this is the problem. I keep bringing up when I do make the social commentary on some of the Hollywood products as opposed to the business stuff. But Hollywood they've completely forgotten who their audiences are and why they go to see their movies or their TV shows. It's like people want to watch things like the MCU for escapism. Nobody wants to go watch those kind of films to get lectured to or have a finger wagged in their face or something preached out. It's like, no. We're coming here to get away from that. We get enough of that on TikTok and Twitter, especially now. I don't need to see this in my Superman movie or my Iron Man movie or whatever else, Ironheart, God forbid, what they're coming out with later. It's a lot like what's going on with their award shows. Look at the Golden Globes. Look at the Oscars. Look at the ratings. People used to watch that. They used to get 20 million people in the U.S. and Canada watching those shows religiously every single year because they were rooting for the big movies that came out that gave them the escapism. Now, not only is it, just replete with movies that nobody has heard, let alone heard of, or let alone seen. Now it's, a 3-hour diatribe of left-wing politics shoved in your face, and they wonder why the ratings have gone to 4 million instead of 20 million.
Yeah.
We don't want to listen to you preach. You're there to entertain us.
Yeah. Escapism, no, not neo-Marxism. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think, Paul, you made a great video about this once, because I was just thinking about how the Marvel movies got so homogenized. Like, they used to have distinct looks and feels to them, and one of the things that they did away with was gear porn. Just the mechanics of all the stuff that Tony Stark would make, you know. And you go back to that first Iron Man movie, right? You get long scenes of like just all the components of the Iron Man suit getting put together and him tinkering in his workshop.
There's a soldering. There's a soldering sequence.
Yeah, it's cool though, and it appeals to, I guess, guys particularly, because we just like building stuff. We like tinkering with things. It's fun and it's appealing, but it's almost like some focus group somewhere said, well, you know, that might put off our female audiences and we need to attract like them equally. And so that just gets nixed. And by the end of it, he's just got this weird liquid nanomachine thing that's just bullshit magic. You know, this doesn't even mean anything. And it's like, why give that up? That's something that makes that character unique.
Well, look at the A-Team. Look at all these shows that were gear porn. I mean, it was part of the fun. And yeah, I agree with you. I mean, it's
Knight Rider. Yeah, Street Hawk. I mean, we can go into that. What I liked about
lost that in the Marvel movies.
What I liked about the first Iron Man film was not just what you described, drunk, but drinker, but it was anyway. I was looking at the screen. I shouldn't have done that. But anyway, was the fact that you had those scenes multiple times in that film. You had like the rough welding of the first suit, and then you moved on into like the advanced stuff, right? And then he was working with Jarvis to build the best suit. It was amazing, and every single little bit of that was important, and it fed into the story. But it's crazy. It's crazy how you're right. They completely abandoned that, and that is again one of my favorite videos that Paul's done. But I miss like not just the character development, but like the suit is a character development and the gear is a character development. That we're missing those elements of what used to make the comic books.
We're missing the MacGyvering of superheroes. That they lose a power. They run out of batteries. Something happens and then they figure something out in a MacGyvery kind of way. And the comic books are suffused with that stuff. And the Marvel movies have now completely gotten rid of it. And all we have are people waving their arms.
Oh, it drives me nuts, man. I knew this was going to happen the moment they brought Scarlet Witch in, right? And she can just, I don't know what her powers are. I don't know what her limitations are. I don't know what any of the stupid spells that she does are. Like, she can just do whatever the script needs her to do at any moment. And I thought the moment you introduce a character like that, you're setting yourselves up to fail, because no longer can you get invested in anything happening. Because no matter what situation you put someone like that in, well, they're just going to come up with a different spell that will fix it.
Exactly.
You know, it's the same with Doctor Strange. You know, they said, well, we have to show him using different magic spells every time. Where you think, well, the very first thing you show is him opening a portal to like on the other side of the world. Like, okay, I can just open that portal inside your fucking head and split you in half. Like, he can defeat anyone now. Like, why would he need to do anything else ever? It's just stupid stuff like that gradually undermines the foundations of your own universe.
Well, look at what they did to Shang-Chi. That should have been a classic Hong Kong Kung Fu movie. Top to bottom.
Yes.
None of this ring bullshit.
Yeah, but they Americanized it wonderfully, didn't they?
They just needed a classic Hong Kong Kung Fu movie.
Oh, you know I'm joking.
All right,
but those movies don't exist. Simu Liu was the first one, don't you know?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Except for, Michelle Yao and Tony Leung, two of the most famous Chinese martial artist actors out there that were in the movie with him. But, yeah,
but they don't count. They're only there because of him.
And I think the future of the superhero movies, they've got to bring them down to a human level. Get rid of these galactic bad guys and make them relatable. I just saw a fan movie with the Joker and Gordon.
Oh yeah, Gordon. That's a great fan.
It is absolutely
black and white.
Fantastic.
Let me find that real quick.
And I'm seeing more and more small movies, which I'm counting on somebody
I shall do my best.
And you know what? I used to be embarrassed by these fan movies for years. I can maybe watch 3 minutes of them. Some of them are like Gordon. They're really good. And they're getting better than the stuff that Hollywood is doing. Like at least it's something I'm more interested in watching.
Yeah.
Because they don't have the budget and things are on a more human level. And boy, Gordon is great. If you haven't seen it, Drinker, I'd love to get your opinion on it.
No, I like this idea of fan films because, like you say, yeah, they can start out quite amateurish, but then they put more and more effort into them now. And like, particularly because camera equipment is so cheap now, you can get really good quality stuff at a relatively low price, and you can set up your own mini movie studio. And yeah, because you don't have the budget to do big special effects shots, you have to put more effort into the characterization, building up a plot that people are invested in. You know, that's great. That's what we want, I suppose. And like you say, I would take that one step further with the bringing superheroes down to a human level, in that I just want variety in them. You know, you can do big cosmic things where the future of the entire multiverse is at stake, fine. But I also want ones that balance that out, where it is just a guy like Spider-Man at like the local neighborhood level, just trying to deal with local threats there. Something like that, but with characters that you really care about. Excuse me. The Netflix Marvel shows used to be really good at that. The Punisher, you know, Daredevil, Jessica Jones, like they all captured that of just we're dealing with stuff in New York City. That's it. We're not saving the universe here, but we've got a bunch of characters that are really well developed that you care about. Great. Yeah. Give us more of that.
I like that. I mean, there was one thing that really disappointed me about Black Widow, and it is the fact that this is a street level person, much like, you know, you're talking about Hell's Kitchen. And if you want a female James Bond, that was your character to do it with it, because she would have had all of the skills of James Bond, including the femme fatale aspect of her. That's the film you should have made, not this adventures in Russia bologna sausage that you came up with.
Well, and the antagonist was horrible.
Well, yeah, I mean, you had Ass Blaster, the bloody like male stuntman that ended up like takes its helmet off and it's like a woman's head like awkwardly CGI'd in place.
That was
awful. That was ludicrous by itself. God. And then the male antagonist was just a nothing burger. Like he's just an idiot. Like I can't even define him better than that. He's just a complete idiot.
There's very few things out there that was as interesting as the relationship between Jessica Jones and Luke Cage.
I loved
great.
season 1 of Jessica Jones because the Purple Man was a great antagonist.
Oh my God! Because he was a Brit.
Yeah, well, David Tennant, he did a great job with that.
Oh, but like, you know what? He scared me to death. Like, I have to say that he was one of the best bad guys out there.
Yeah,
that was
he wasn't just a Brit. He that's offensive. He was a Scot, wasn't he?
Yeah. Sorry.
Let's get it right.
Although I think he was doing an English accent in that one.
Yeah, so that's right. But Tennant is a Scot, though.
Tennant was great. Tennant was just fantastic. And then, of course, the first season of Daredevil was maybe the best piece of superhero TV ever.
Yeah.
And will never be duplicated.
It was
watching him go up against Kingpin. It's like, great.
Oh, my God.
Vincent D'Onofrio was just born to play that role. He was awesome.
Yeah. That was just fantastic.
Tour de force.
But you can't, Marvel can't produce something like that because, for a start, it's violent and it's R-rated and it's dark and it's emotional. It's morally, ambiguous in a lot of cases. Deals with some pretty heavy stuff. You're not going to get that in a Marvel production now.
MCU Daredevil coming soon. How excited are we? Valiant, Daredevil on Disney Plus from Kevin Feige. And from the genius minds behind a bunch of CW shows and other assorted SJWs who are in the writing room.
I think they're going to convert it to Velma.
Yeah.
Pass.
Yeah.
I could comment as Paul Lynn, maybe. Going to be wonderful.
I don't. You know what? After seeing what Charlie Cox did on Netflix as Daredevil, I damn sure don't want to see him cucked beyond recognition on a Disney Plus show and turn it into something for 13-year-old girls on TikTok or something stupid like they're going to do like that. I don't want to watch it. I don't want to turn it. Look, I got rid of Disney Plus a year ago. I haven't. I just don't. I don't care. They can do whatever they want. If they want to burn the whole thing down more than they already have, pour gasoline on the ashes and then set the ashes on fire, they can go for it. I mean, at this point, I don't care. That's me.
I haven't watched. Well, I mean, I barely watch Disney Plus. I don't pay for it. The only reason I have it is because my kid gets it free through his Verizon phone.
Yeah.
So we use the same.
I occasionally have links show up in my email from people with stuff that I don't have subscriptions to and things. So I'll leave it there.
I think I watched, 1 or 2 episodes of She-Hulk, if that. That's the last thing I remember watching on there.
I'm sorry.
I thought you were going to say, that's the last thing I remember watching, and then, I blacked out.
That would be a hell of a way to die,
covered in someone's blood.
Be like, am I in hell? No, I'm just watching She-Hulk. Never mind. Oh, crap.
Oh, God.
I have to have Disney up here because we have stars. They've added several product tiers to it that I can't get as a Canadian in the United States, but Disney Plus Canada offers it. And there's lots of shows actually in stars I want to see. What can I say? I'm sorry. I admit to having Disney Plus. Not like all those people who are actually playing Hogwarts Legacy, but not telling anybody just in case their social justice warrior dipshit friends, accuse them of not towing the line.
I thought Paul was
honestly
going in.
That whole palaver was either the biggest fail to cancel a game ever, or it was the best psyop on the part of the developers in history, and I honestly can't make up my mind which it was.
It would not be as popular if this shit didn't go down.
Yeah.
I'm certain. I mean,
I think so, yeah. Because there are people out there who will just buy it just to piss these people off.
Yep.
Yeah, like I said, I may get it for the PlayStation 5, and I don't even have a PlayStation 5.
What I found was funny is when we learned it has a transgender character in it, and they're just, it's just pandering and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, we were talking about this last night in open bar. It's like they're giving you everything you want, and you're still mad. Like
JK had nothing to do with the game at all. What is your problem here? I just don't. Yeah, there's nothing. You can never appease these people. That's what we've learned time and time again. That's why you never say you're sorry. That's why you never give them an inch, because they're going to take 10 miles. It's the same difference every time.
What I was love, though, is that everyone who tried, all the Twitch streamers who tried to cater to that particular audience, who show how virtuous they are, now they can never play this game.
Yeah.
And they always have to fall in line, and they always have to abide by whichever cause is popular this month. Yeah, this month, it's not playing this game and condemning J.K. Rowling. Next month is going to be something else.
Twitch streamers that sided with the brown shirts are missing out on the most popular game in the history of Twitch and can't make bank on it.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Because they can't play it in case they get attacked by the brown shirts they enabled. So I think it's hilarious.
I was originally waiting till the summer to buy a PS5. I was waiting for Final Fantasy 16. I bought one. I'm picking it up tomorrow at Best Buy for this game.
There you go.
Well, there you go. So
Joey's right here. They're not people.
They're not people. They're hippies.
Oh, I thought I was going to have to do the voice, but you already had a clip. Thanks so much, Tom.
Yes,
it does. The game looks good. It has a little bit of that. What's that big Japanese game where you that just came out?
Final Fantasy?
No. It's an open game. That's that everyone says is way too hard. They're always complaining it's way too hard.
Elden Ring.
Elden Ring. Thank you. Yeah. It has Elden Ring elements to it. It looks really good.
Yeah. I mean,
these, by the way, are the same people who can't beat Glass Joe in a fight. But
what did you think about the voice actor for Harry who backed out and apologized for being the voice actor and taking a check?
Oh, for fuck's sake!
What did you think?
I did not hear about that.
The thing is, even if he does, I bet there'll be people out there who still hate him because he was involved in it in the first place. It's not enough.
Like I just said. Yeah, it's not enough. It's never enough. Well, we'll get to see if it is enough because guess what, Drinker and crew? An alternative game to Hogwarts Legacy is pledging to donate a portion of the profits to trans charities. So we'll see how well this game does in comparison.
Oh, no.
So they can actually, so thanks to Six for bringing this to my attention.
That charity is going to owe money.
The thing is, like, if you're a unscrupulous games developer, like an indie developer who just wants attention and just wants people to see your game that nobody would care about otherwise, you could do this and just do it as a stunt, and it'd be like, oh, we'll give a proportion of our profits, like 0.01% to charities, and suddenly you've got people buying your game just to virtue signal. Like, it's the economy of stupidity is powerful these days. And there's always people looking to take advantage of it. I imagine that's probably what this is.
Yeah, and speaking of the audience for this campaign, I believe the saying is there's born one every minute.
Wow. It's going to be a groomer game where you get more points the younger you can get them.
No, Andre, you're wrong. They weren't born this way. That's the thing.
Yeah, exactly.
No, there's not one born every minute. There's one created every so often.
And then randomly assigned on a whim. Yes.
I don't even try to pretend to understand the insanity anymore. I just nod, smile, and go.
Yes, and I'll be careful from there on. Yeah, I know Andre wants me to be. So yeah.
But this stuff is interesting though, because when you look at the attempts to cancel this game and the resulting backlash to the backlash, which is essentially, no, fuck you, we're going to make it even more successful now, just to infuriate you. It does make me wonder, is this some kind of like watershed moment in all this stuff, like the battle for media?
I was thinking the same thing. I'm just putting a video together on that. I'm trying to get Maslow's hierarchy of stupidity.
I'll say this real quick. It is for Warner Brothers, Drinker. This was a big business maneuver for them, for Warner Brothers Discovery, for Zaslav. The success of this game is going to have a massive impact going forward on what they do to reboot, soft reboot, set up for a sale, whatever they're going to do with the Harry Potter franchise. If this game is successful, bank on it right now. They will make a movie based on 19th century Hogwarts, just like this game. Tell you that's the next step.
I can see that coming.
Drinker, do you think this is a turning point?
I don't know, because it's easy to label, like any sort of high profile clash like this. It's easy to say, oh, this is the turning point where, we're going to start winning now or whatever. And sometimes it's a more gradual process than that. And I think what you'll probably need is a gradual avalanche of moments like this. The next Battleground might be a movie, it might be a TV show, but it does feel like it's happening more and more often now. I think last year, The Rings of Power was probably a real battleground for this stuff. That felt like this kind of creeping destruction of well-known franchises that people have loved for a long time, that started with things like Star Wars and Star Trek. It ran smack bang into the wall that is the Lord of the Rings fandom. And those guys were hardcore, and their attitude was, fuck you, you ain't getting a step further with this one.
We kind of predicted that.
You know what?
Star Trek and Star Wars are one thing. You can't mess with no Lord of the Rings nerds, because they are the original actually nerds, like
they've been in this for 70 years now.
Exactly. They're the guys who are like, actually it was Gandalf who did
But that's one element of this, and so that's what it did for TV. Maybe this is going to be the similar kind of thing for gaming.
Well, Gary's takedown of Rings of Power are always fantastic because his knowledge of the lore is so good. Yeah. It's fantastic to listen to. I think, Drinker, that the SNP should put out a game.
I cannot imagine what that would be.
I'm thinking they got the government money. They could do it.
If they were to try and incorporate all of their current policies into a game,
I want to quickly address what Drinker brought up though about this whole thing about the battleground thing. I think we're getting near an end, because I mean, I don't know if anybody here is actually a fan of Bill Maher, but he's actually had a few good takes as of the last year or so. He's one of the few. I mean, he does speak out of both sides of his mouth. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know if you guys have noticed he's got this YouTube channel now. and he does these long form interviews with people. And he's done some pretty good interviews on there. I got to give him credit for that. And he had this conversation the other day, or at least he posted it on his YouTube the other day, with Sean Penn. And he flat out basically puts Penn on the spot. He's like, why is it all you fuckers don't believe in this shit behind the scenes, but in front of the scenes, you know, he's basically saying nothing is going to change until you guys start saying something. And you really got Sean Penn basically poking fun at the whole pronoun thing and everything in that conversation. And I'm like, this is the problem right here.
I think what you'll see, right, is the turning point will be when the sort of moderate people on the left break ranks with the most extreme elements and say, no, you're bringing down our entire like worldview. You're making us look like clowns. You need to fuck off now.
It started with the feminists have now turned sides.
Yeah, I think they have, haven't they?
They have. They you know, women sport, you know, the sports thing and penises in change rooms.
The women who are referred to as TERFs, like J.K. Rowling, was worse than that certain fella in that strife in Germany in the 40s.
No, you mean yeah.
I mean, I think, well, they hate, like I said last night, you know, there's nothing they hate more than one of their own who breaks ranks. And that's exactly what she did. And she's like a very high profile person, obviously, that commands a lot of attention. And so that's the backlash against her is just insane. Like it's relentless.
And it's from a small group, but it's from a small group.
They're just very vocal and they get a lot of attention.
It's more people breaking ranks, exactly as you said.
But yeah, Bill Maher, I mean, I'm not American, so I'm not an expert on all this stuff, but yeah, like, as far as I understand, he's a pretty, you know, he's a moderate sort of left-wing guy.
Yeah.
And he probably went along with this stuff up to a point until it got utterly ridiculous and then decided, no, I need to start speaking out now. Like, common sense must prevail at some point here.
A lot of his, because on his show every week he has, you know, at the end of the show he does, like, because he's a comedian, he's a stand-up comedian, so yeah, he has his new rules at the end of the show. And almost every week now for the past damn near year or so or more, it's been a new rule basically going after the woke every week. And, you know, he's not gaining any friends with that. But, you know, like I said, after I saw this interview with Sean Penn, because like Sean Penn is one of those guys, right? Like he's like the arbiter of woke. So if he's kind of calling this pronoun stuff, you know, a little ridiculous, then I think we're getting on the cusp of everybody kind of understanding, at least on that side of the aisle. They've gone too far.
It does make me wonder when Hollywood's going to switch.
Well, and I think that the Velma was one of those moments, because in our we had a member chat, and I'll tell you, Drinker, one of the funniest things I ever heard is when I wish I could give him credit for it, whoever said, Velma his show is so woke, it's too woke for the woke people. Like,
it is, yeah.
It's like even the woke people are going like, whoa, this is too far.
That's why you got all those conspiracy theories that like it was some kind of right-wing, you know, troll operation. You know, Mindy Kaling's actually a secret conservative, and she was just mocking like all this stuff with a show that was so over the top ludicrous that like nobody could enjoy it. And I don't know, man. It's if it's at that point, man, you've crossed into the realms of parody, and so you've essentially embraced the fact that your cause is ludicrous now.
Yep.
And that's maybe where we're at. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, all I know is this is because we were talking Warner Brothers and we've been talking about like them moving forward as a company. I'm going to point out that Bill Maher has enough following that he's kicking out somebody that would normally host a show on Fridays on CNN.
Yeah, he's on CNN now.
Yeah, and they're compiling his clips and putting them up as a show because that's how bad CNN
is doing right now. Yeah. When you got to turn to Bill Maher.
I'm like, wow, the voice of reason on CNN is Bill Maher? Somebody help me.
CNN must be praying for Trump to get reelected.
Oh, hell yes, they
the
are.
only thing that'll save their ratings.
CBS, Les Moonves is quoted as saying that the news division never made more money than when Trump was in.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I believe that.
Yeah, NBC absolutely needs Trump back.
Well, Zaslav even said Republican presidents are good for the economy. He flat out said it. That was one of the reasons he was one of their enemies.
I don't mean it in that he's not.
He said that
it that way.
Yeah, but he said that in reference to the question was about Trump, and that was his response.
Yeah.
And that was one of the moments where all these people jumped on Zaslav as, oh, he's a Republican. We got to go after him.
He became an enemy real quick.
He became a boogeyman real quick.
Well, one of the funny things about being a logical Canadian, even though I'm tend to be left of center on social issues, I know the facts, and Canada always does better with a Republican president, even though Canadians tend to be Democrats. That was a funny thing. They just didn't want to deal with the fact that Republicans are less protectionist, and Canada as a country does much better with Republican presidents, even though we don't like them. That's just a fact.
Yeah. Well, what we do have as a fact is we have some super chats to get to. So let's get to some of these.
Right.
Hit us up. Final Smash 1689 says, if W's report, sorry about that, on the Rey Palpatine Grogu movie is true, will it be the final nail in the coffin for cinematic Star Wars? Now, I know we touched a little bit on some of this stuff, but Drinker, have you heard this rumor? I'm sure you have. I'm sure you guys talked about it a little bit. Yeah.
This can't be true, because I'm sure Daisy Ridley is done with Star Wars. She does not want to go back.
For those that haven't heard the rumor, just go through it in real briefly. What is the rumor? What is the report?
Okay, the report is, I be careful how I say this. The report is basically that Ridley is indeed involved. Now, to what extent she personally is involved or has not been contracted at this point, I can't speak on that. What we can tell you from a source that Pro and I both know who this person is. We have verified this individual's identity. We know what they do, and they are definitely in a position to have knowledge of such things. And that is that there is, and that Disney would not be communicating in the manner they are, both within Disney corporate and to partners that they have to do strategic planning with years in advance about Rey and Grogu being together. This is in the ether, and it is a Bob Iger initiative. This is something that is relatively new since Iger came back. This is indeed what they're looking at. So they're going to try to take one last stab, at least as of right now, to use the popularity and the merchandise popularity, particularly of Grogu, and try to not throw the whole sequel trilogy thing out. Can we do something with Rey again? Can we make something work here before we, really have to burn it down and start it over? That's the thing. But that is definitely, there are discussions happening. Yes.
It would be a slight bit of cosmic irony if, we reconnect with Rey and she's living on some island somewhere, drinking blue alien milk, and she's just old and disheveled and depressed. that would appeal to my sense of irony, I think.
She's living on a lesbian commune.
That would be.
I just think. I don't even. But if talking from a business point of view, though, a marketing point of view, ain't nobody buying Rey Skywalker dolls or action figures or anything. She's not a marketable character. She never has been.
No.
She's as bland and boring as anyone in Star Wars has ever been. And trying to resurrect her now, it's a failed endeavor.
But that's just it, Drinker, is that they think they can revitalize all that money they've sunk into that whole franchise to this point by bringing in Grogu, Chewbacca, R2-D2, a new character, and Rey together with Grogu.
It's like a guy on the roulette wheel.
That's the 5 characters
Vegas
specifically
who's
on the table. Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's like a guy in the roulette wheel who's betting his shirt and he's lost everything. And he's like, this one last spin. This is it. This is my time. I'm gonna win. It's like,
Greed.
No, you're not.
I want to be clear. I'm not saying it's gonna work. I'm just saying that's what they're doing. I'm not saying it's gonna work. That's what they're doing.
Man behind the sequel trilogy, who is not willing to throw it out completely, wants to try to salvage it. I can see this happening. It would never have happened without Iger. But with Iger, someone who is personally invested in the sequel trilogy, now ego becomes a part of it.
Well,
I thought that Kathleen Kennedy might have been the sticking point on this. And it really feels like what they're doing is just killing time, just putting out a few TV shows here and there that don't cost too much. And waiting until her contract expires so they can get rid of her, and then they can do something to try and fix the movie side of things.
I just want to point out, and then I'll be quiet for a minute. I just want to point out that all the characters he mentioned that they're trying to prop up with this new rumored project. Yeah, those are the characters that appear in the Star Wars attraction in Galaxy's Edge called Rise of the Resistance. Those are the characters that are propping up. BB-8, all that. The only exception
and the Galactic Star Cruiser.
Yeah, exactly.
But remember, this was all under Chapek's time, and I get where I can see what some of I can believe some of this, because I remember hearing stuff, and it was somewhat confirmed by that one writer that they cannot deviate no matter how much they want to. Like, even though that was the one time Andre and I remember I completely didn't agree with the reporting we were doing because it wasn't, as far as I was concerned, but I was only hearing it from one source, so it wasn't enough, and that was that they cannot change anything that's been put on screen. They cannot deviate from any. It's canon once it's on screen, so they almost have to eventually get these two to meet. Like, it's almost imperative that it has to happen. So on that level, that I can see it being a possibility. The other possibility is you've seen Daisy Ridley out in the press and like saying, "Oh, I don't have any jobs anymore because of Star Wars." While the bitch has got more jobs than most fucking actors in Hollywood, so she clearly wants to work. She'll take the money, I'm sure. They'll offer it to her. They'll do some stupid shit. Like you guys said, this all has to do with Iger and his ego. But here's another aspect of this.
And
maybe we'll
legacy.
never even see these
It's
movies.
His legacy.
And his legacy. But there's another aspect. Well, maybe we'll never see these movies. Because going back to the whole Warner deal, this is where I'm starting to wonder if this is what Disney's up to, too, by separating everything. What did George Lucas do the moment he was trying to set up the sale for Star Wars and Lucasfilm? He got the sequel trilogy in motion so that the company was worth more. That's what I think is going on here. I think they're trying to set up all these projects and say, look, we got this and this and this, so that the company is worth more. Because Star Wars, if they tried to sell it right now as a just on its own, wouldn't be worth diddly squat compared to what it was before, because they destroyed it.
What about the Galaxy Hotel? Are you kidding?
I don't see.
You
I
mean
can't
the
see
rat,
Disney's-
that was,
rat hole?
I
mean,
can't see Disney ever selling that because they have way too much real property, like real estate.
No, what
way
I'm
too
saying
much
is they're
capital
setting
invested.
up Disney for a sale. They're going to sell off ESPN, Disney, and Disney Parks separately. You watch.
Can I just ask something as well? Like, I'm looking at this as a complete outsider to the industry, but like, it just seems to me like announcing projects seems like it's worth dick all. Like, you can announce anything you want, but it doesn't add any value to any project. Like, you know, we had an announcement that Rian Johnson was going to be doing a Star Wars trilogy. It was just vanished into the ether. Nothing's ever going to come of that. So does announcing these things and just seeming like you've gotten the ball rolling actually add any value to the company? You need proven track records. Surely.
That's true. But Andre, like, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't add any value directly for the company as a whole. But here's the thing: you don't have to look at the company level. You have to look at the individual executive level, because there was a point when Kathleen Kennedy was even told by the Chapek management, kindly stop soft announcing all this stuff never going to happen, because you may think, they didn't say this, but this of course is the meaning, because you may think it makes you look good that you have this ball rolling and everything is going to change now, but in reality it only makes Disney look ridiculous, because none of the stuff you try to set in motion ever ends up happening.
Yeah.
But as far as like the selling of the company, like, yeah, that was my, the example was, to make Lucasfilm worth more. That's why George got that stuff rolling. And that's kind of the same thing with the whole Warner report that, and I know you don't agree necessarily, Valiant, but that's what I see from that is a very similar situation, is they're announcing all this stuff to make it worth more, basically.
There's so few companies, though, that can actually do that. I mean, you're talking about, we're going back to the same too with Warner Brothers. In that case.
It's
Amazon
Apple
and you've got Apple.
Exactly.
There's only two.
I get you.
And they, so I mean, it's you're talking about,
and that's where
Disney,
we're at
like
right
it or
now.
not, it's still a $200 billion cap company. I mean, and you've got Apples and Amazons out there that at their peak were $2 trillion market cap.
Well, and
companies.
funnily enough, these are the two companies we keep hearing brought up in the mix as far as like Apple has been, they bought MGM, which surprised the hell out of me. But yeah, we're going to be losing the drinker here though. And we got some super chats for him and we don't want him to miss out. Maverick Christian says, Critical Drinker, love your content. What's your favorite whiskey?
Thank you. Lagavulin is probably my favorite.
Yeah.
There you go.
You like a PD.
Yes. Yeah, not too much because I think it's got a bit of smoothness to it as well, but a little bit. Yeah.
STR Red Wolf says, "Hail all, watch you drinking lately."
Here, I'm actually not drinking anything right now, but I'm looking forward to a nice beer after this is over and go get some dinner.
Prune juice.
Nice.
Y'all
Valiant says,
still
"Fun
holding
day,
this
ain't
one
it?"
from the beginning of the goddamn show?
Yeah.
Evidently.
I'm gonna put some vodka in it, and that makes it a pile driver.
That does. 32 says, 32 flavors of Nick Weiser says, "Drinker loved Dark Harvest. Felt like a missing World War Z 28 Days Later hybrid with a prophetic story and a hell of an impressive twist near the end. Well done."
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's weird having written a book about a global pandemic before the global pandemic happened, but then it got published afterwards. So
weird. You planned it that way, sir. No.
Yeah.
Mario Trillo says, "Morning lot. Always good time with the drinker." Yes, it is. "Who win in a drinking contest, Drinker or Andre? It sounds epic and would be entertaining." Gosh, I don't know, but I'd love to watch that.
I'll come over to Norway, right, and we'll film it. We'll just see how it goes.
That sounds like a plan. Let's do it.
The Viking versus the Drinker.
I'm going to need a ticket for that. The Irish New Orleans boy might be able to take y'all both out.
Ooh.
You're a month guy.
In traditional Norwegian grøftefyll, which for those that do not know, that's basically the Norwegian term for when you go so drunk that you just have to find a dike or a ditch and pass out in it.
When you said go find a dike,
I was going to say, be careful with that, Andre.
The Americans here thought something different.
No, we actually call them both. We have both, but yes.
Well, I use both terms.
I say the other is considered more of a derogatory term anymore anyway. So David Deacon Little says, "Great stuff, guys. Shout out to Midnight's Edge and Drinker special today. Thank you for the info and commentary. Shared cheers, guys." Well, thank you so much, David, and we appreciate having you here. Tennille says, "Hey, Drinker, funny story. I work at Subdivision of Fox Sports. My boss actually used our new Warriors video in her PowerPoint, basically explaining what tones to avoid, and said, 'Listen to this guy.'" Yeah, Tennille is somebody I've talked to a lot about some of this stuff. He's then was in a meeting yesterday. Yeah, there you go.
Brilliant. That's really cool.
There you go. Yeah. And then we got Bamagrad. How you doing, buddy? It says, "Hail to all, Andre. I gained even more respect for you after watching your appearance on Drinker's Open Bar. I am biased, but I was still impressed." Well, there you go.
Well,
nice.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure to have Andre on.
Yeah. Hosman Socrates. It's Socrates.
Socrates.
I want to say Socrates. That's the problem.
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, baby. I know where you're going.
They look about Socrates. Where is it? I don't know. Look it up under Socrates. To the Drinker, hail, sir. Even the thought of doing reviews on older games like KOTOR, Mass Effect, and Red Dead Redemption. Ooh, I could see you playing some Red Dead, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've played and completed Red Dead Redemption 2. Absolutely loved it. And yeah, I mean, it's like, I guess my second channel is the place to do video game reviews. So I'll see what I can do.
Speaking of WDW Pro, he's in the house.
You know, he's trolling me now on Midnight's Edge.
This is question for Valiant. How does it feel to outsmart the writers at Forbes? P.S. Have a great show. Loving it. Glad to see the Critical Drinker on today. Well, thank you, WDW. Thank you.
That video is coming shortly. So, regarding Indiana Jones and the budget that Forbes released, saying that it was $300 million.
Indiana Jones and the Budget of Doom?
Yes, they were actually.
There's your video title. You're welcome. You owe me $5.
Oh no! The video's been loaded since this morning. It's Indiana Jones and the $350 million budget of Doom. So very close. Tom.
Okay, there you go.
They were wrong.
Wow.
They were wrong on their calculations.
That's a lot of money, and that's why I didn't laugh at the fact when people are like, "Oh, they didn't spend that much on Avatar." I'm like, "Yes, they did. I guarantee you they did."
Oh, well, depending on the amortized cost, I think they front loaded actually more into the first Avatar movie, because I keep reminding people how many years and how like $100 million that Cameron spent just on developing and designing all the special cameras and lenses that it took to shoot this shit and all the sequels.
So here's the difference between, let's say, Marvel and Cameron. Cameron writes a tight script and then takes forever on the technology. Marvel can't write a tight script worth their lives and fusses with it up until 2 weeks prior to shipping off the digital the digital stream to the theaters. They have no idea what their movies are about. You can't shoot a movie without a tight script. and I just get a sense that I'm watching late era Woody Allen movies with like first draft scripts.
Sorry, those are my dogs. I apologize. So
It's okay.
I sympathize. I've got a dead one over there.
I've got 3 very live ones in there, Drinker, making a whole
Is it a greyhound?
It is, yeah. They were moving around earlier because they were waiting to get fed, and so I just let them out and off they went.
Greyhounds are sweet dogs.
Yeah. They're pretty chill.
So, this one's for me too.
All right, and then Adam Wolford, yes, says, have you noticed Valiant Renegade didn't say WNBA because it's about those are making money. Because it's about those making money beforehand. I don't know what that means.
And
so
we
it
haven't
doesn't
even
cost them
talked
too
about
much.
Disney's entreaties to try to get it back into the good graces of China, which I don't.
I think that's what I was bringing up, some different sports leagues and how the contracts works. Like if they sell gun and saffron, just like they would trade a player while there's still value to the contract.
Right.
The difference, of course, is in this case, the WNBA is completely reliant upon the NBA because the NBA subsidizes the entire WNBA to even exist. The reason the WNBA even has television contracts on sports networks like ESPN is because the NBA forces it when places like Disney and Warner and TNT re-sign.
Is this
NBA.
like women's soccer here in the UK where it's like they're playing in
women's basketball
because nobody cares?
Yes. In fact, that's where our famous little yay comes from. Six's favorite thing. This. That was from a WNBA joke on Family Guy. Yeah, that's the crowd.
Fan.
Yeah.
The Miami Heat. The Miami Heat used to be a client of ours, and we would go to both the NBA and WNBA games. There'd be the NBA packed, WNBA no.
Yeah, and I think this is meant for Drinker.
Was there?
The chocolate bar vendor.
Jim One says, "Did you ever read stories on productions of License to Kill? It was apparently haunted, including an unexplained flaming hand caught on film and a ghost." I was assuming this was meant for a Drinker on his.
I can honestly say I know nothing about that. Never heard of that before.
You know what? We should make up stories of Drinker's tantrum on the set.
Yeah,
we should just go for it, and just make.
We got some news.
We got news.
We got audio from the set.
That's right. He threw down the script. He threw down the script in the middle of shooting and said, "This is my script. You fucking follow the fucking script.
We are done professionally."
Fucking story.
It'll not be all right.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Good for you. Jim Watari says, "Mikey, you must outdrink the drunkard, aka the critical drinker." Oh, that's right. Mikey might want to get on this too.
You can try.
This drinking contest. Mexican Iron Man is Mikey, just so for those who are wondering, but yeah. Ash Beener, if I'm saying that right, says, "Happy Friday panel. Glad to see the drinker here. Thanks for all you do and keep up the great work." Well, thank you, Ash.
Thank you.
And then do we have any more 6 for the drinker? I think we are caught up with anything that was specifically. We got Eduardo Guerrera, who says, "Cheers to the drink team." There you go.
I am deeply disappointed. Actually, none of us are drinking right now.
I know, right?
Wrong.
It's too early for most of us, except for Andre. It's not that early. Granite and you, it's not too early yet.
Well, the two of us will have to bring the drink for next.
That's right.
Time the next time Drinker joins us on a Friday.
Drinker, you never did a review of Banshees. Did you? Yeah.
The Banshees of the Inisherin thingy.
Oh no, I haven't. No, I haven't reviewed that yet.
Oh, because I've been waiting for your review.
I will get there. Don't worry.
Paul did it, and he doesn't know what the hell he watched.
No. Yeah. I called it the Irish Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah.
Granite
it's
Man
basically
says,
just two guys who fall out with each other, basically, isn't it? And like,
I guess from the looks of it,
I like the tiniest of its tiniest premises, and then it.
Yeah.
Granite Man says, "Drinker Crown Royale man all day."
Wow, that's old school. I respect that.
Old school. And I think
in the purple pouch, you have to drink it from the purple pouch.
And I think we're caught up for Drinker. So Drinker, you've got a project you're working on. You've got some other stuff that's going on. Anything you want to tell us about before you do have to leave us here, which is something we hate to do, but you got other stuff to do, like eat and drink.
It's late.
I feel like I'm getting to the point where like there's too many things going on and I can't even keep track of them. Like I'll end up like I'm supposed to be doing some movie or whatever, and it's like I don't even show up because I forgot that it was even happening. But yeah, I am. I'm doing a short film that we crowdfunded. We did it through Kickstarter, launched it thinking we might get 10, 15 grand, something like that to get some basic equipment, and we ended up with like 250 grand. So that worked out nicely. So that's planning to shoot in the summertime. So we're deep in the middle of figuring out all the production side of things, getting locations locked in, casting, all that good stuff. So that's keeping me quite busy at the moment. I'm doing my best to like give some sort of sensible like input to that, which is I'm failing at most of the time. I'm also going to be in Atlanta at the end of this month. I'm going to the Comic-Con there, Atlanta Comic-Con. So I'm going to be there for the whole weekend. So if you're in the area, I guess, and you want to see me, then come along. Who knows? You might find me. I'll be at a booth there anyway, signing autographs and merch and all that stuff, and doing some panel events. So looking forward to that too.
Critical Drinker Takes America. Awesome sauce.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I was in Tampa last summer, and that was great fun. Did a Comic-Con there, so I'm getting a taste for it, you know?
Sweet. Well, maybe one of these days our paths will all cross, so that would be sweet. Yeah. But thank you again, man. It's always fun to get to talk to you. It's been too long, and Andre, anything to say before we go? Let Critical Drinker go anyway. We're not going anywhere.
Say thanks for joining us today. It was a pleasure to have you here. It was also a pleasure to be there on your stream yesterday. So yeah, let's do this again soon.
Thanks, man. We'll have to have that drinking contest sometime as
well.
Yeah,
I look forward to it.
All right, I'll catch you guys later.
Thanks, Drinker.
Take care, brother.
Bye-bye.
All right. We had let's see here. We had a few more super chats here to go through. If you guys don't mind.
It's after 2.
How much longer do you have, sir?
I got to get back to work.
Okay. We'll try to get to
I
your
gotta
super
pick
chats
up a kid here.
Well, for Pete's sake, guys. I'm not doing 3 people's at once. Ethala says, I know Chato and Casino saw it. Thank you so much for your kind words last night. Did you see Gordon? I know the writer-director, and he's awesome.
Wow.
Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I loved it. I watched it like 3 times. It was that good. It doesn't take long. It's incredible. It is.
The acting is amazing. Yeah. And the guy who played Joker, holy crap. That was creepy as hell. And his final words, just fucking
don't spoil brilliant. It. Don't spoil it. It was incredible.
It was incredible.
Incredible.
Really good. I'm thinking we might see a watershed where independent producers are making much better stuff than Hollywood.
We're already there, man. But yeah,
you still get that kind of a bit embarrassed watching this moment. But I think it's getting there more and more. Hollywood has the power that they really do have good actors available to them, and they're able to pay money. But they're stumbling so badly that I think the independent producers are going to save the business.
Well, I think they
just need a venue to show their stuff.
Yeah, but Hollywood's chased off all the good writers, so all of them can write these independent projects, and they're going to turn out lovely.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Yeah. Yeah, Gordon was great. Tell the person who did it, fantastic job.
Yeah, so kudos to Patrick Logan, who wrote and directed it.
Yep, I'd love to interview Patrick sometime because that was a good film. That's rare.
Been hearing about it, but I haven't got a chance to check it out yet. So
it's only 15 minutes long.
And I guess we've got another one here from Mr. Tinkledrunk, who says the writer-director for Gordon and his significant other are in the chat. Oh, well, hello.
Oh, hello.
They appreciate you guys brought up his baby. I wanted to relay their thanks. Please share out his hard work. Well, thank you, Mr. T, for pointing that out.
Oh, yeah, there we have him. Patrick Logan. He's right there.
There we go.
And we should be thankful for Warner's for letting people do this stuff.
Yeah.
Letting them do fan
unlike
movies.
Disney and some of the other places, Universal and somewhat Warner are the only two that really seem like they don't really bother anybody if they do a fan film. But if you're Paramount related or Disney related, that's a little different.
Which is really funny because the best time in gaming was when the people who could program did extensions to the Bethesda games.
Yes,
They
yeah,
did
all
mods,
add-ons. Yeah,
the mod culture just made more sales.
Yeah.
And this is what we're seeing. This is mod culture. Like,
Yeah, well, that's why. Oh, go ahead.
Why wouldn't you let this? They're not making money off it. Let them do it.
But here's the problem: Bethesda even themselves polluted that environment.
Correct.
Because then they were like, "Oh wait, we want to make money on this. We want to make money on your mods." I was like, "Oh,
they just got greedy." No, wow. I get it, but there was modding on many games.
That's true.
And that was the best time for gaming. So here I am, an executive at Warner, let's say, and as long as they've played within the rules, and there should be rules, you let them fanfic your stuff, shoot it, and it also gives you ideas for new stuff, because that's how you write the rules, that anyone who creates something that looks like I want to go steal it, I'm going to get first dibs at buying it. And then number two, you get talent without actually having to audition people. You watch these little fanfic movies and you go, wow, that's a talented individual. I think I'm going to make them a star. Like, well, there's just so many benefits to this.
Usually it only takes one bad egg to spoil it all for everybody.
But the lawyers after them.
Well, or they claim to be having all the lawyers in the world, but no, but like that's the thing with Paramount. Like I always thought that was a sad situation with Star Trek, because Star Trek is arguably the first fan film community, right?
Yes.
And for them to destroy that the way they did, I have a feeling that had just as much of, damage on the Star Trek brand as Discovery or anything else has, because it killed fan support. What was that? Sorry.
What is this person? The world is awash with crappy Batman fanfic movies. Stop talking nonsense, Paul. No, I don't think you're understanding what my point was. But of course there's going to be, and that's why you keep doing it, because the good stuff rises to the surface. It's just
like this particular film down here, folks.
Correct.
Yes, and for those that wonder, I now put it on screen, so everyone that wants to see what we're talking about, Patrick Logan's Gordon fan film. It's like 13-14 minutes long. Link is, well, it's not in the description, but it's right there on screen. So if you click on it, that'll take you right there. So click on it and check it out after the stream. And we'll have to do some reach out to Patrick Logan here. Like,
absolutely.
Culture, you want to interview him, so we have to make sure
we had, there was the Star Trek extended stuff, and I actually interviewed.
That's what I was trying to talk about, was like how that kept Star Trek alive for years that they didn't have shit, right? And they were always friendly with the fan community, and then when one person fucked it up for everybody, it changed. And Disney's just as bad, but Universal's smart. Like, that's what I love about Universal, is they have allowed, like, not only have they allowed like daycare centers and other places to use minions on like their signs and everything like that, they will send them stuff. Now, remember when Disney tried to stop daycare centers from showing Disney movies without charging them an outlandish price?
Oh yeah.
Universal will send them movies. They'll send them minion movies. They're making new fans every day.
Well, and Disney
lawyers have always been so overzealous.
Yeah, the lawyer mice are terrible. They actually went after a kid's headstone that had Spider-Man on it.
That disgusted me. That was the worst thing I have seen a company do.
It's not always the company; it's the divisions within the company who are doing
that doesn't help. But yeah.
So when Steve Jobs left, and and then Apple turned into the executives going, "Oh, what would Steve Jobs do?" That's what happened to Steve Jobs. Very similar to what happened to Disney when Disney died. And we were doing a huge multimedia project, and we had the Apple logo because we were doing it for Apple. And then we had the lawyers come after us because they deemed that the colors of the Apple logo were not Pantone level. They just had people going around making sure that your Apple logo was the right color. That was their job. So there's stupid shit happening everywhere.
Well, and then Disney also had problems with Winnie the Pooh characters being used in certain ways too. So this is nothing new for Disney either.
Oh, sure, sure. And you have to, on a certain level, you have to protect your property because you will actually lose your license to it if you don't actively protect it.
Yeah.
But there's ways of doing it without being
a dick.
A dick, yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I said. Like Universal will actually provide them with official stuff to where, you know, it's not.
Yeah, but didn't CBS Paramount come to some agreement with Vic?
Sort of, but he's never. Basically, he ruined it for everybody. Not with Vic, but with Alec Peters.
Yeah. That was,
and basically, he ruined it for everybody else because now you're only allowed to do a maximum of, I think it's like 2 fan films, only 15 minutes apiece, and all this other bullshit.
However, yeah, they did put out some very draconian rules, but they have like a very lax policy when it comes to actually enforcing them. Because there have been many examples of people that have made fan productions that haven't abided by those rules.
Well,
so they have like that in there that these are the rules, but we reserve the right to allow you to deviate from them. Unless you're Alec Peters, in which case we will not deviate from these rules and enforce them. So basically, they're kind of like the Alec Peters clause.
The bigger thing that Alec probably ruined for everybody is that he made it to where it's a rule now. If you're a Star Trek actor and you appear in a fan film, you will be basically excommunicated from Star Trek. That's the bigger kicker. So keep that in mind. And then I think we had 2 more for Paul before he leaves. 6, where were those at here? You said they were the last 2? Okay, here we go. David March has been a member for 14 months. It says, has Paul watched Fillion's Uncharted short film?
Yes. It was okay. I didn't think it was brilliant. Sorry.
There you go. And then Tennille also
says... And I'm a
says,
huge Uncharted fan.
All right. Guns and Boobs, TM, would be a good next episode for Paul's gear porn show. Sorry for weird characters. Had to fool Comrade Google's censor commissioner. We understand, sir. Or commissar, sorry. Guns and Boobs. That's basically what Canon was built on. Cannons and cannons.
Yes. Nice.
No, we're gonna make the yeah.
And you got the alliteration also.
Yes, cannons and cannons. Yes. So yeah, there you go. Actually, just you can use cannons and cannons if you want to.
Well, in Canada we call them cans. Hey, she's got a nice set of cans. I don't know.
Yeah,
I thought that was a film festival.
I came up with that because we're doing a Canon Film Club deal, and I'm like, that's what Canon was all about. Canon, we're full of cannons and cannons.
Well, I don't know if you noticed it, but at the end of the last Spider-Man movie, was it No Way Home?
That was the last one, yes.
Yeah. They because they did that time shifty thing, they completely got rid of the Tony Stark Spider-Man bullshit. If you watch it at the very end, he's now back without the backpack and the extending legs that come out of his back and the nano suit. He's got his regular suit and just the regular shitty web shooters. I think they did that on purpose because it became a problem having to deal with all that MacGuffin, Tony Stark MacGuffin stuff.
Well, and that's one of the bigger things. Then Jonas is here. Hey, Jonas says Jonas. Iron Man started with a script that got worked out on set, and Marvel got confused by success. Yeah. Well, also that was like uncharted territory in a way. I mean, not uncharted for superhero movies, but uncharted for like a superhero like that they were kind of also trying to build a new kind of thing. They weren't even sure what the Marvel universe was going to be.
But Favreau also had a tight budget. So there is a Hollywood disease where they work way too much out on set. That is a problem. They don't go in with tight scripts like they did in the 50s. Still, the budget was a key breaker. Now, I think part of the challenge has been with Marvel is that they just feel like they've had unlimited money and they just keep spending, hoping to fix it. And ironically, when you have limitations, you become more creative.
Yep.
Oh, absolutely. I've agreed with that time and time again. Then
true.
Jeff C says, Paul, if you want to see Batman satire, see Batman Night in Lockdown by Joel Osborne.
Okay. Let me take a look at. I will write that down.
And I believe that you are caught up then, sir. So if
Batman,
you needed to leave us.
Batman, a night in lockdown. That sounds pretty funny.
And since we're losing a few people, I'll send the link out to a few other people I saw in the chat. Maybe if they're not busy, they can hop in and finish up some super chats with us, since they might be able to help us with some of them. I'm not going to say exactly who they are because I don't want them to feel obligated, but yeah, we will see what.
Yeah, I do have to thank y'all for having me on. And look,
thank you so
quick,
much, though. Yeah, you dropped another video, so go check out Valiant's channel.
Yeah, I put the link in the chat. I was just going to say real quick, there's still 1,600 people watching and 800 likes, so let's make those numbers a little bit tighter. I'd love to get over 1,000 likes right now for the stream. So please hit that like button if you have not already. Subscribe to everybody that's on this panel today if you have not already. And share it out. Social medias, Twitter and Facebook. YouTube loves it when you share this stuff for Midnight's Edge. And thank you all. Go watch my video when the show's over. It's Indiana Jones. I got to bust Forbes' balls a little bit because they got something
and the $350 million budget of Doom.
Yep. No, it's funny when you said, no, I actually had that. People in the chat were like, Valiant just changed the title. I'm like, y'all can go ask Pro. He saw the video this morning. He saw the title.
I believe him.
The budget of the
See, it's just great minds think alike, you know.
Yeah,
the
budget of Destiny.
Oh yeah, Valiant and I do that quite often, actually, because we both. That's the same thing. Like the Dial of Destiny. We both had the same thing in mind. It was a pick
of Destiny. Yeah. Oh yeah. Got to get a little Tenacious D out there. So, gentlemen, good to see you all. Good to see you, chat. Thanks to everybody out there. Thanks to the mods. Thanks to the audience for sticking around. Stick around more. We got more to go here. I just got to run because it's Mardi Gras. I got to get kids and stuff and craziness. So
and crawdads. You need crawdads.
That's coming up. Usually crawfish down here. You want to wait till like March, April, and especially May because right now they're too small.
Okay,
yeah.
I don't. People they're always talking crawdads.
Crawdads.
I mean, the best one, you can get them right now, but the best ones come up in usually around April.
Okay, I'll be down there. Yeah, down there for some crawdads.
Take care.
Take care, Valiant. And Paul, you also have to leave us?
Yep, I got to go. I just released my 1982 TV guide.
I'm watching it right after the show.
Very good.
It's a lot of fun, and I'm backfilling all 10 episodes, and I'm listing every single show that was in each episode in the description. So that's taking me a bit of time to do that.
Well,
I'm sure people will appreciate that.
Yeah, and I actually appreciate the fact that you gave context for the Bring Them Back Alive or whatever, which was the first show you talked about in the video. I was like, okay, well, that's why that came out.
Yep.
I don't even know about this show.
No, I'm shocked by many of them.
That's what I love about that is discovering all these shows that never got too far, right?
I think I'm going to do a show about the weirdest shows that they greenlit and just kind of discuss how on earth they got through.
Yeah.
Like The Invisible Man, Bring Them Back Alive.
Yeah,
There's just some weird shows. The Quest, terrible.
Pauly Shore show.
Anything. Well, how did they how to get through? So, anyways, that's it. I think I'm also going to do an update on that sketch where I was auditioning for the King Oobly Doobly, the candy flavor sketch. So that's pretty funny. Anyway, I'll let you guys with what you're doing, and thank you very much for having me. It was fun to be here. It's
always a blast.
Oh, you guys are great.
Love you, Paul.
Love you guys too.
Thanks for joining us. And Cultured, I also believe, regrettably, has to leave us.
Yeah, and I don't want to, but I need to eat food and then prep for my thing later. But I really appreciate being here. I appreciate the great drinker being here as well. I love these Fridays when we have a stacked panel full of amazing information and talent. So I hope everybody has subscribed to every one of these channels and check out our friend Jonas as well, because he did wonderful. The 3 videos he's done on his channel are lovely. So do check those out. And on that note, gentlemen, thank you. Have a great.
Speaking of the devil.
Oh, bye, Jonas.
Hello.
Hello, Jonas.
In this case, I'm the devil. Hi, nice to meet you.
Oh yeah, that's right. You haven't met Andre yet. That's right. Andre, meet Jonas. Jonas, meet Andre. He's been on Mead already, but he has not got a chance to meet you.
My stand-in on the morning show last Friday. So pleasure to be here with you.
Well, good to be here. Did I hear something about some super chats that need to be answered?
Well, I figured you might be able to help us out with some of these because I'm sure we're going to get into some of this Disney and other business here. So,
well,
if you're not busy,
I can help with. I got about 20 minutes. I'm an editor for a channel that you all have never heard of, and I've got to get that. Well, I can say it here since nobody knows my real name. I've got to get that ungrateful brat her video sometime before the end of the day.
Okay. Well, let the guessing game begin.
No idea. No idea. But it looks like you also became a new member while you were here.
That's right. It was far too long. I for some reason I didn't even see the join button there, and then once I saw it, I couldn't resist.
Oh, that's awesome. Welcome.
Awesome. And I'm looking for some of these on here that you may be able to help us with here. Here we go with one. Duke Argento says, "Good day, gents. Great panel today. Is the binge style of writing shows on D+, Netflix, etc., actually making shows less bingeable in a twist of irony?" It's a good question.
Oh my. I would say that is absolutely true. You see too many shows that are written specifically for this when Disney Plus, for instance, I'm sure you've mentioned this on the show 100 times, that there are so many Marvel shows that should be Marvel movies. And instead of putting quality and tight pacing, they do the opposite. They stretch it out for as long as they can, finding as many act breaks as they can just to get to that 8 weeks.
Yeah, and it's really strange considering how television used to work. Like you had, 20, 24 episodes every season, at least half a year worth of a show usually. And now when we got to the binging model, there's less episodes. A show isn't talked about as long. And then I think we get into situations where Netflix kind of drug their feet on like renewing Cobra Kai, for instance, to where if that was a network show, that thing would have 10 seasons easy by now.
And 26 episodes a season.
Right.
And also, yeah, as you said, for like the binge model, sometimes there's just too many episodes and there's too many fillers. Like for instance, we have praised the Marvel Netflix shows. Not all of them were equally good, but all of them, one can argue, with the possible exception of the first season of Daredevil, had a little bit too many episodes because there were filler episodes in them, which kind of like broke down this whole binge thing. Like for something to be bingeable, you have to be able to get through it relatively fast, meaning you can't have like several hours worth of pure filler in there. And sometimes you do.
It's especially apparent on a show like, say, Iron Fist. And I don't want to pick on Iron Fist any more than it has already been picked on. But you already have a primary character that is not fully formed, and they haven't had enough time to even let the guy have some martial arts training in order to play a martial arts character. But then you have this secondary character, the brother or brother-in-law. I forget his role in the show or what the mechanics of it were, but he is related in some way, either by business or by blood, and they give him an addiction subplot that is just the most boring, ham-fisted thing that they're just obviously stretching for time, literally having this guy sweat on screen. It's just not interesting.
Yeah, no, I see what you mean. That series absolutely had issues. Absolutely. So yeah, I think so. That the binging had its time, but in a twist of irony, binging did end itself.
Agreed. The funny thing also, if I can add this, it's kind of on the undercurrent of all of these streamers here, is legacy content is still the stuff that people are going back to over and over again. So NBC has accidentally, even though they were behind on the streaming game, they have all of these shows that people are willing to just turn on, whether it's in the background, whether it's just a noise machine. they will turn on Little House on the Prairie and just go ahead, just shotgun all 10 seasons as you go about your day. They like the feeling of it more than they are necessarily paying attention to the content of each individual episode. I wrote a paper a while back when I was in business school about Golden Girls and the fact that I think within the first 6 months that was on Hulu, the entire series had been watched by more than 50% of the people who even watched one episode.
Huh. Yeah, there you go. There you go.
So should we read the super chat since I think Tom?
Yeah, let's move on with there. Liam John Smith says for $1.99, what do you think of Discovery maybe selling off? Now, this, of course, is in reference to WDW Pro's scoop of Discovery basically possibly having a plan to flip Warner and all its contents, both Harry Potter, DC, and everything. What do I think of the plan? Well, actually, it sounds exceedingly plausible to me, because I never quite saw like how Discovery would be a great long-term fit, but come in, do a repair job, earn several hundreds of million in the process, that I can see. How about you?
I think until I heard Valiant say it, the thought had not occurred to me at all that he would be willing to split it back off. But when you look at Discovery, their strength is in writing titles that you would never think that you wanted to watch this show, but you read the title and you all of a sudden you know exactly what it is, and it has your curiosity. They're the closest to YouTube as far as sensationalizing. My 1,000-pound life, and so My American Gypsy Wedding, kind of that might not actually be a Discovery show.
Actually, it might be.
But they
it
know
is now.
It is a fascinating company, and they can do this thing where they can put a little bit of content onto Warner Brothers platform, HBO Max. Sorry, it seems like there's probably still going to be at least one more tile here, one more streaming service to come out of this, probably a free ad-supported option. But if David Zaslav wants to, be a corporate raider here, buy the company, build it up to something great, and then walk back off with Discovery, I mean, more power to him. He's got a plan if that's what he's doing.
I wonder if go ahead, Sir Jonas. I thought you were done.
No, I was just going to say I think he's got a high chance for success in any direction he goes.
Well, it's funny because I want to find that episode, Andre, where what was a year before Discovery, even at least 6-7 months before Discovery was even in the talks of Warner Brothers, I brought up on this panel on the morning show about how everybody I've been talking to lately when it comes to streaming service, because we were talking about CBS All Access at the time. And I said, nobody seems to have that, but everybody keeps bringing up the Discovery app.
Yeah, well, feel free to look. It's only 364 episodes in total.
I don't have time to do that myself, but I wish I remembered which episode it was, because I would love to go back and point to it, because in that episode I brought up what everybody was telling me, and I noticed what was funny is because they kept saying, I have to have it. I'm like, what do you mean you have to have it? They're like, I have to have it. If I don't have it, I can't see this. I can't see my 90-pound life, this spin-off thing and that thing that's not on the TV part. So
I remember you did say that.
Yeah, so when they brought Zaslav in, I'm like, this guy makes sense. So I'm not so sure, and again, this is me now speculating here. I'm not even so sure he's looking to spin off or sell off Discovery again. I'm thinking he's going to lump them all together, and look at his age. I mean, this is kind of his legacy. If he's the guy who came in, made Discovery what it was, and then came in and reinvigorated Warner Brothers and sold them both off as this huge deal and sailed off into the sunset and retired as David Zaslav, billionaire, I think he'd be more than happy. I'm sure he's getting to that point where he's probably starting to think of these things, because together they're worth more than they are separately, if you ask me.
Exactly, and it would be the perfect capstone to his career of success.
That's what I'm thinking.
He would be the person that basically fixed and repaired Warner. His legacy would be secured, and he'd earn a shit ton in the process.
That's exactly what I'm getting at, because I mean, he was somebody who never had, and this is what in my research, that's what I found out was when it came to Discovery, what's the deal? Because there's a lot of people who are upset about certain things. But I learned that he's not afraid to throw the baby out with the bathwater. And that is, he will just completely overnight change a channel. Like he killed, what was it, True TV overnight, or Court TV, and turned it into True TV overnight. Whatever it was, one of the two, and a couple other ones. It was just like, didn't care, just move on. And they're more successful whether you're pissed off that it changed or not. You know, like he manages to find things that more people will watch. So I'm not saying he's directly responsible for all that, but yeah.
He got poor Mike Rowe back doing episodes of Dirty Jobs, despite the fact that Mike Rowe will fully admit that he is now an old man. They'll still have him out there pouring asphalt in the Florida sun just to make another episode of the show. He knows his audience and he knows what they want.
That's what I'm saying. Like, obviously, if somebody is coming up to me who is actually just a general audience member, not one of us, right, is saying, I have to have this streaming service, there's something to it. And if he can do that for Warner Brothers, HBO Max, whatever they end up deciding to call the service, which I still say losing HBO is a bad idea. But I don't know if you guys have heard this or not, but they are going to change the name. And the reason now I'm hearing that they are changing it from HBO to something else is that they did some research, and I guess parents associate the name HBO too much with adult entertainment. I can see that being a problem.
They're a victim of their own success. That was their entire point for so long. I mean, they at some point they dropped all of, and this is a show that it's fine to say the words real sex and shows like that. They were the place to, if your parents weren't home and you had premium cable, here you go. You can turn on that channel and whatever. No one's going to find out, that kind of thing. But now they have Sesame Street owned by HBO, which is the most bizarre pairing for anyone that understands this brand. And then they decide, okay, we're going to release children's content and we're going to have the HBO name on it. This is, whoever made this decision needs to be smacked in the head and put in the middle of the Midwest of America and just say, what do you associate with the name HBO? What do you associate with the name Sesame Street? And if any of those things cross paths, if any of those things happen to have a Venn diagram, that person needs to be arrested and taken to the local precinct.
Yeah. Or back to Hollywood, as it were.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's an excellent point right there.
There's a rumor going around. There's a WBD Plus Twitter account that's currently set to private. So there's a rumor going around that is the name of the new streaming service. I will say they can't do worse than that if that happens to be it. I don't like the name.
What was it called? I didn't catch that.
WBD Plus. I'm not trying to give a plug to an account.
No, I know, but yeah,
you know. But I do like it more than Max, which is also the name of another premium channel on cable in America, Cinemax,
which is their own. That made sense to me because HBO and Cinemax were always the same company. So right, and HBO Max did make sense to me at the time. But yeah, sorry, Joe.
But no, it just doubles down on this same issue. I don't think the Cinemax name is really that strong in people's minds. But
but it does evoke naughtiness. Yes, Skinemax. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Showtime, which is now being absorbed. Well, they say that the Showtime brand will live on at Paramount Plus. I think that is wishful thinking or just somebody hand waving to make the Showtime executives feel good. It seems like all of these old premium names are, except for HBO, are kind of being allowed to go out to pasture.
Paramount Plus, I'll still say, like I said earlier to Drinker, it's kind of a wild card yet. I'll give them that. They have managed to, because I used to laugh at them. We all thought, especially when they were CBS All Access, there was no chance in hell for this to be anything. Because CBS is only known as the old folks channel. Paramount hadn't really done shit with any of their properties other than Mission Impossible. They've been, they built this whole idea on Star Trek and they fucked that all up. They weren't even getting half the audience they were getting when they canceled, Enterprise. So like we would sit there and consider All Access or, eventually when it became Paramount Plus, we're like, it's going to die on the vine quicker than the rest of them. Well, but it's managed to stay alive and it's got a few things going for it that I have a feeling it might be that wild card just because of that. And I think Brian Robbins is another reason that he's the CEO right now over there who took over. And he's got this idea of, if you don't like it, don't fucking watch it. He's like, there's going to be shit on our channels that you may find offensive. Sorry, but we're not taking it down just for you, kind of thing. So anyway, you were about to say something, Jonas. Sorry.
No, it's fascinating to think about CBS All Access, to brand a streaming service after the channel that the people least likely to want to get into streaming. It carved out a niche that I guess my parents were interested in CBS All Access because they liked that kind of content, and eventually they got it, and it did have Star Trek, and then eventually they were really not interested in the Star Trek that was on there. But now they have Yellowstone, which is yet another show that appeals to it appeals not just to older conservatives, but it has an appeal to older conservatives in a way that maybe a few years ago it might have been crowded out of the market or been a naughty show, but now it's apparently espousing some conservative things that appeal to conservatives. So good for them that they found this spot. If they can just hold on to their intellectual property and not give all of, and this can also speak to the fact that there's an upset and maybe Kevin Costner won't be with the show anymore. And instead of continuing the show, they'll reboot it as something else. Well, if they reboot it as something else, I don't think Peacock gets to keep whatever they make. I'm sorry if I'm going all over the place here.
No, you're right. No, you're actually, I think you're spot on, because that's why all the spinoffs are on Paramount Plus.
Yes. Because
from what I recall, because did discuss this a little bit earlier in the show, but from what I do recall, the deal is they made the deal with NBC Peacock before Paramount Plus or All Access was even a thing yet, really, was the whole deal. And then so they kind of noticed and realized their snafu after the fact. And at that point, Yellowstone quickly became the biggest show on the planet or whatever,
Yeah.
So they screwed that up. But then they're like, they got Taylor quickly at work on like 10 spinoffs that they have the rights to on Paramount Plus. So I think you're right. If this just so happens that whatever happens with Kevin Costner and they have to flip the show somehow and do kind of a quasi spinoff, that's exactly how they'll set it up. It is not going to continue to be Yellowstone. It'll continue to be Yellowstone in everything but name, basically. And it won't have Kevin Costner in it. That's about the only difference, I bet. They'll just replace him with Matthew McConaughey, not as playing the same character, but the same dynamic in that part. And they'll change the name and maybe a couple of the locales so that they can say it's different enough.
Yeah.
And put it on Paramount Plus.
Avoid a lawsuit and just keep making money.
That's, I think, is going to happen. I think you're onto something there. But thank you, Liam John Smith. That was a great question. And with that, how much more time do you have with us? You only had a limited time.
Yeah, I could probably do about. Oh wait, no, I actually hear a knock at the door here. How about 5 more minutes? I'm really enjoying this.
I was just going to say, why don't we? I was going to say, do you have anything you want to plug? You got a new channel now. You're doing that. Anything new you want to let the folks out there know about you in general?
Well, I'm about to get myself in big trouble here because I have a massive script for Everything Woke about Picard season 1 that I am terrified to record because it is
Bible length.
Well, and I'm debating. I got into episode 5. There's 3 more episodes left. There will be an episode on my channel, whether it's part 1 or the whole season. But on Wednesday of next week, Everything Woke about Picard will be on the Jonas J. Campbell YouTube channel. So if you want to check out any of that, the Everything Woke About series has Proud Family, Strange World, and oh my goodness, what was the other one? Velma. Oh, that joy.
Yeah, I remember you did the Velma one was your first big one, wasn't it?
Yes. So thank you very much for allowing me the chance to talk about that. So
no, yeah, like you guys are doing great work, and definitely want to highlight that. And we thank you for your time on here in Mead, and when you get to hop in and give us all the insight into the goings on. Because to me, like, I understand like the corporate shenanigans and some of the politics, but what I don't get is when you guys get into like the numbers stuff. Then it turns into like You know,
then we start talking just like the adults in Charlie Brown. Right?
Basically, you're right. Yes, you guys start sounding like.
Well, that's what you always want to hear about your content, of course.
No, but you guys help me understand it, right? Like that's the thing is like I get going on. I don't like because people ask me some of these questions sometimes in DMs or on the streams, and it's like I really wish I had Culture or Valiant or Andre or whoever here or Mikey, somebody who knows more of the financial stuff because math scares me. It's racist.
So I'll throw. Yep, that's in the videos too. I'll say that. So I will say I did hear one more thing about Tulsa King, which is I don't think that's directly connected to Yellowstone, except that it is a Taylor Sheridan show.
That is true.
The first season showrunner is leaving for Tulsa King. He's going to work with some guy named Martin Scorsese. I think he'll land on his feet, but apparently there's some creative differences there with him and Taylor Sheridan.
Ooh,
so that's too bad because this first season, it's that's what got me down the Taylor Sheridan path. Actually, was Tulsa King.
That's what
I
I'm
never
hearing.
watched Yellowstone or anything before that, and I'm like, I watched Tulsa King. I'm like, I'm hooked on this, and I only got 9 episodes. I need more, and that got me into everything else.
And I think that Stallone has also, while being a megastar, has also found a way to perpetually be the underdog. So good for him to have success again.
Yeah. But do check out Jonas's channel and of course all the other outlets you have as well. And anything else you want to plug before you have to leave us, or did you want to stick around for just a little bit longer? I was gonna say I know you had to run, so
no, that's it. I appreciate it very much. Thank you, gentlemen, and I hope I get to come back again sometime. You're always very generous.
Sounds good. Take care.
See ya.
We'll talk to you soon. All right. Let's get these super chats rolling.
Yeah, let's move on. We have
Dr. Long Dongler sent us this way early this morning before we even started. It was a thumbs up. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't already, especially if you appreciated the show today. We appreciate that ourselves. Scott Cook had and I'm sorry I missed this, Scott. This was meant for Drinker. I totally missed it. For Will, just working my way through book 9 of the Ryan Drake series. Great stuff. Looking forward to the film. I did screenshot that, and I will pass that on to Drinker, just so you know, Scott. So sorry I missed that before. Yippee-ki-yay says, we were promised elf emoji. I see no elf emoji. Andre, where's the elf emoji?
You were promised it, and it will come. You weren't promised for a Friday.
That's true. We said we'd try. That is true, I think.
I promise it is coming.
Then JS Payne says latent grooming. I don't know who we're grooming, but... the only grooming I do is my dog. Like I'll brush her hair. There you go. Because I have no hair to brush. JS Pena also says hype for Killer Clowns game. Yeah, I'm hearing a lot about this. I can't wait to check it out. That might be a game I get a little sucked into, maybe. Hyper Guyver says, with all this butthurt surrounding Hogwarts Legacy, maybe I should have invested in Preparation H. Maybe. There's a lot of butthurt going around about it. And Stian Modstad sent us a super sticker for 19 Norwegian Krona. And let's see what it is here. I have to scroll back up a little bit. Stian Modstad sent us... I bet it's a thumbs up, but I want to make sure. I don't see it. Did you put... I'm sure you put it in here, 6, but I'm not finding it.
It's a thumbs up.
Thank you. Oh, I have to scroll down to the bottom. He put it in there again. Thank you again. And then we got Waltman here who says, hey, we just got our first 1 out of 10 Hogwarts Legacy from The Wire. The most of the review doesn't talk about the game. It felt like a therapy session. Ouch.
Yeah. Well, that only goes to show where they stand.
Yes, indeed. And that's pretty bad, and that's where you're clearly going to be able to throw out some bias, right?
Yeah.
Like, because even in our review of, say, Ghostbusters, I mean, back in the day, I'm sure you were at least somewhat. I remember you said that, it was bad, but like, it was like, I think you would give it somewhere in the whatever range, but like, even I gave it like a 3, I think.
Just because we covered it and we covered it negatively doesn't mean it's automatically the worst thing ever to exist. I mean,
exactly.
There's still some good things about it.
That's the point I was trying to get to. Exactly. It's like I even gave it like I think a 3 or 4 out of 10. Right? I mean, even though it didn't deserve that. I mean, after rewatching it again for that thing we never did, man, that was fucking torture. It was worse the second time around. Mr. Tickletrunk says, yeah, now, Disney now specializes in woke-induced atrophy. Is that how you say that? Yeah, I guess so. I know the word, but I don't know how to say it.
Atrophy? Yeah, that was
how
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
David Deacon Little says, yes, the MCU fatigue is real. Yeah, bad MCU fatigue is real. This is true. Hyperguyver 2, and you saw, actually, speaking of that, if you saw our video from yesterday, if you haven't, check it out. Andre put together a lovely chart that shows you just how bad things have gotten over there. At the
Feel free to bring it up if you have it.
I planned on it here. I did. And this chart, it says a lot. I've actually used this 3 or 4 times in the last day.
I have to make more such charts then.
Yes, please. I love these charts because they actually help. This is how math helps me see things. It's through my autistic mind. Because this is what I told Andre. I'm like, I want a chart where it actually shows how bad shit's gotten since that game. And we'll give this right here, we'll give them a mulligan right here because that was COVID. But they got no excuse here because this is just before Spider-Man. Spider-Man would be right here.
Yeah.
Okay. That would be a
basically
huge spike
that. Because this chart right here, this is without the Spider-Man movie, just because they're Sony movies. So that spike you see right there, that's Doctor Strange riding on the hype of Spider-Man. But still, look at the gap between that and Endgame a bit further up there. That's a
big, huge gap.
Fall.
Yes, that would kill you. And I think it kind of did kill and you know what I brought up, Andre, bringing up this chart. We've pointed out for time and a lot of the times that Star Wars has basically cut their audience in half, and arguably maybe even more now. It shows. Sure. This just shows us that Marvel has not only cut their audience in half, but they've cut it into a third. Like they've lost 2/3 of the audience, basically.
Yeah, you can make that argument. I mean,
because I can see it just from the chart.
Not every single Marvel movie was $1 billion movie, but there was a period where their movies, on average, each made more than $1 billion. From that, the audience, they've cut the audience on average, I would say, by 2/5. They have certainly cut their audience by that.
If you want to get more specific with a knife, there you go. But yeah, that's pretty bad. Hyperguyver says, have you heard about the news surrounding Angie Mayhew? Angie, Jesus Christ. Angie Mayhew, the BBC breakfast host that is auctioning off belongings of the late Peter Mayhew. No. Are they related in somehow? Is Angie his daughter, niece, something?
Angie, if I may. Angie is Peter Mayhew, who's the actor who played Chewbacca.
That I knew.
Wife. Yeah, okay. And they sold a home and they left some Star Wars memorabilia in the attic due to mobility issues. They couldn't get it out of the attic. So they sold the home and turned it over to the new owners. I'm not aware that they had any kind of agreement that they were supposed to turn that memorabilia over to them after the fact. It sounds like they it was abandoned, and so it then belonged to the new homeowners. So
technically that's the law. Yeah.
And now it's basically being auctioned off because they left the stuff in the attic and they couldn't bring it with them. Well, that sucks that they did that, but I have to say that in that case, I kind of appreciate it being auctioned off, because that way at least it will go to someone who will appreciate it.
There you go. So no, this is news to me. There you go. I mean, I know he passed away sadly not too long ago, and he had some financial issues and stuff, but yeah, so that explains why they probably sold the house. Guru Lady is here and says, been with Amazon Prime for 15 plus years, and now Prime isn't even 2-day shipping. Yeah, I noticed that. They say it, but it's like very sketchy. Everything takes a week or more now, no matter where it ships from. Also, another thing, Guru Lady, I noticed is you got to make sure it's clicked on 2-day shipping, because they like to flip it over to their week thing. You have what is called a Prime Day, if you haven't been paying attention. But they just pick a specific day for you where they ship all your shit. to get.
Oh, nice of them.
Yeah, no, you got to make sure you're getting it checked right. So get what you're paying for. Tennille89 says, and cancel Christmas shall forever be my favorite Alan Rickman line. Yes, from Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. And cancel Christmas. Granite Man says, good movie, good story. Kids will buy the toys. That's true. Waddle D's Nuts says, become a member. Thank you so much. And then we've got the God King Dictator of South Africa who says, just giving love to Dean Cain and Lois and Clark. Yes, it's an excellent show.
He was a really, really good Superman. He was. Absolutely.
You want to get somebody started on that show, ask a script doctor about it. He loves that show. Guru Lady says, still waiting for the DVD release of The Keep with an alternate ending. I saw it 2 times on cable, or a remake would be nice. Huh.
The Keep by
I'm trying to remember.
Was that Jordan Peterson or Michael Mann? No, it's not Jordan Peterson. Obviously not Jordan Peterson.
Michael Mann.
Was that Michael Mann or Wolfgang Peterson?
It was Michael Mann.
It was Michael Mann. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought.
Story by F. Paul Wilson. Has it not gotten released on Blu-ray? I thought it did. Maybe I'm wrong. I know we did talk about this movie recently, though. But yeah, no, it's I didn't even know there was an alternate ending, I guess. Then Elf has also been a member for 5 months at the Midnighter level. Thank you for that. Jim One says, seems even loyal fans are starting to doubt Marvel. Well, not just that, but like I noticed this with was it Eternals, Andre? That I noticed when I said that they're not even, the stands are not even out defending this one.
No one was standing up for the Eternals. That one was just a disaster and a dumpster fire from which there was no defense in any way, shape, or form.
Basically any film since then they really haven't come out in major defense of, right?
They never recovered from the Eternals.
Yeah, I think that was kind of the
turning something of a watershed moment.
Yeah. And no, The Keep has not been released on disc yet. So there you go. And it's been released on bootleg. Get your hands on that. That's about it. But yeah, as far as the Marvel thing, yeah, I think you're right. Elf sends in a very generous $20 one and says, since the Authority is now part of DC's plan, how big is the possibility that Spawn could join the DC universe because his crossover with a lot of Warner Brothers properties, and Todd McFarlane could possibly get his movie? Well, the McFarlane movie, as far as I know, is done. I know a few people who have actually seen it, or at least seen stuff from it. I don't know what's going on with that otherwise. I don't know if it's like in post-production hell or what's going on.
So as far as it?
I think it was filmed already, yeah. Because I talked to a couple people that have mentioned things about it. They've seen at least scenes of it.
Huh, okay.
Because Jamie Foxx plays Spawn in it. Now, as far as the DC thing, maybe that's one of the reasons why it's being kind of whatever, because we did hear that there was some talks with McFarlane on the whole DC front of things, on the comic side of things, so who knows, maybe, but
I'd be very surprised if that.
I'd be very surprised,
because that would mean that McFarlane would have to sign over Spawn to DC, all right, and he would never do that because the whole point with the formation of Image in the first place was ownership of the rights. Now, why the heck would he go and undermine that with Spawn, of all characters, the one that he truly owns himself, just to go and hand it over to Warner and DC? I don't see that happening. And I do not see them coming to any kind of agreement where he would get to keep the rights that he have, because if he did, it wouldn't be in Warner's interest to make any kind of movie with Spawn. Yeah. Why would they do that kind of profit-sharing deal with him when they have so many other DC characters that they own completely? I don't see that happening.
No, and I don't think Todd would do that either.
Yeah.
I think he's too protective of Spawn.
Oliver,
yep. Oliver's here, and he says, No Way Home was a nostalgia gimmick. You only get one. You know, I can't disagree with you, Oliver, on this. I have a feeling if they keep trying to do this again and again and again, which they will. It's going to fall flat on its face, but we'll see. Lindsay Rivera is now a member. Thank you so much. Miguel Farah says the Spider-Man cartoon had gear porn scenes as well. Oh, this is one we should have brought up when Paul was here. Peter making customized formulas for his web. Maybe it was sent just a little after too, or no, it would have been here before he left. But yeah, I do kind of miss some of that kind of stuff. I mean, I had my gripes but I didn't hate the first Spider-Man movie, and I loved No Way Home. So it was the second one is the only one I didn't care for. STR Red Wolf says, but is the game on Sony Mega Drive? Well, Sony didn't have a Mega Drive.
I think you mean Sega Mega Drive.
I know, he means Sega Mega Drive. Speaking of, where's my shirt, Andre?
Yeah, that's another thing that has to be done.
32 Flavors of Nick Weiser says 1.8 watching. Well, not anymore, but there was at the time. Smash the thumbs up and get it past 1K. Did we get it past 1K? No, not quite yet. We still need about 20 more. 20 more people out there.
Smash that like and get us
at least
1K likes. Yeah,
please. We got Mexican Iron Man who's been a member for 22 months. Why weren't you in here? You're probably busy working. Says we need more likes like right now, please. So smash the like button. Yes, I agree. Rambam 3000 says Hogwarts Legacy now say the alternative game that's donating to charities. Well, we'll double that. They could. Yeah, that whole thing is. Yeah,
that only goes to show that company. They say, well, we'll donate a percentage, like a 0.1 percentage. It's not difficult to double that.
Six said shut's the mod group. What did Mikey do now? He said for Michael's. What'd he do? You say it in the back, Six. I ain't got time to run. I was looking for it. I couldn't find it. Daryl Brewer has been a member for 18 months at the Edgelord level. Thank you so much for that. Have you seen Gary from Nerdrotic is stringing Hogwarts Legacy? No, because we're working, but thank you for the Mexican 250 pesos there.
Yeah, I heard that he would. Like I spoke with him only yesterday when I was on the drinkers panel with him, and hopefully we'll have him come and join us on the morning show before long here.
Yeah, and then we've got Pinochet's helicopter tour who said, "What woke demands can we make to sabotage Star Wars?"
Oh, that's super easy. Barely an inconvenience. Just think of anything crazy that's going to be destructive. And you put that in there. Like, for instance, you can demand that. They were going to use Rey. Well, her transitioning has to be part of the plot. Boom, there. Woke demand. That's going to be difficult for them to incorporate. So yeah, there you go. Demand that Rey be
Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, or that Rey stops the whole movie to explain her pronouns or they's pronouns. That'll also do the trick.
Yeah. And then we have, let's see here, Mr. Buttcrack Media, who says, "Hail all, great show as usual." Thank you, Mr. Buttcrack.
I like you. We do try.
And we got Tommy Tables, who sends in a Canadian $13.99, says, "We need a new Skywalker, a son of Rey and Kylo, that can refresh the series and bring fans back. Bonus if Rey ends up being possessed by Palpatine and going dark." You know what's funny you say this? Because when I first heard this news about Rey coming back, I'm like, how do they keep this franchise going? Because they have no Skywalkers left. They're all dead.
Yeah, you even have a Palpatine whose victory was so complete they even subsumed the Skywalker name.
So I had a feeling how they were going to do this. Rey's going to be pregnant with Kylo's Force child. You remember when he brought her back to life?
Yeah, they were like Force sexting each other and everything.
That's my hunch.
Yeah.
Is that's going to be the crutch of the next series is going to be she's pregnant with the baby of the Force. Basically the next coming of Anakin, because it was an immaculate conception of the Force kind of thing. Force sexting, exactly 6. Yes. So get ready, kids. There's going to be 2 babies. You're going to have Baby Yoda and Baby Luke Jr. Lindsay Rivera says, would be hilarious to see Indiana Jones 5 flop. Especially considering how much money they spent on it. I hope it's good. I do. I really do hope it's good. everything I keep hearing about it does not make me feel any better. But what are we gonna do? We got what, 5 months and it comes out, something like that.
Well, we can laugh. We can point and laugh like Nelson Muntz. That's pretty much what we can do about it.
I hope.
Yeah, no, actually, I also hope for.
I don't want to
the
laugh at that
legacy
though. It'll make me feel
Indiana
bad.
Jones, I hope it will be good. I hope that they have been able to change all the disasters in reshoots, and that the movie we will be getting actually will be good and so something worthy of the Indiana Jones name, so that this character, so Indiana Jones, at least goes out on a high note and not a completely tragic note like Han Solo. So I hope they were able to pull something good out of their hat here. Do I think they did? That's, of course, a completely different matter.
I just don't want any more disappointment, especially out of this. I mean, yeah. I mean, because actually, I had a glimmer of hope when they said, "Oh, James Mangold's coming in other than Spielberg." I'll be honest with you. I'm like, good. Spielberg's heart wasn't in the last one.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
So if that's the case, maybe they'll get somebody who has their heart in it, and we know Harrison's heart was in it. And if you listen, like if you read his recent interview, that was hilarious. So the guy's still got it, but I don't want to hold out too much hope, right? I'm not going to get my hopes too high. On that one. C-Man says Disney state the layoff date. Don't companies usually do layoff prior to the earnings call? Well, I don't know about the latter part, but no, I don't think they stated an actual date, but the number they stated, which was funny because Chapek, I remember, he never said a number.
Nope, he did not say a number. Probably partially because he didn't know it, and also because he didn't want to reveal it yet. That is something that you do want to reveal at an earnings call. You don't want to say, we have already done this and stuff like that. No, that's what you want to say at the next earnings call when you want the positive boost from now it's working. But you also want the boost from now we're changing things and to get markets excited. So actually, you do want this on earnings call. Plus, also, you have to get all your ducks in a row. You have to cross all the T's and everything, which does take some matter of time. So all of the employees that are to be terminated, they need to be given the contracted notification. They need to be getting their severance pay, if any, all that kind of jazz. All of that means they may not have time to execute it prior to an earnings call or in between earnings call. Typically, something like that is going to take place over the course of at least 2 earnings calls, just because of the legalities of firing people.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how this is all taken from Daddy Iger, considering. Then we got Dero On, who's been a member for 1 year and gifted 5 Midnight's Edge memberships. Thank you so much. Speaking of, I think we got a plan for a member stream here soon.
Yeah, we have to have that soon.
Maybe next week or this weekend if you're not busy. So we haven't had one on the week. We got to try and plan one for an alternate time for some of the other folks who haven't gotten a chance to hop in yet too.
We'll change up the time a little bit here.
And we have to work on something like that. And then we got Immortal Remus, who sends in $4.49 and says, or actually it's £4.49. Says, speaking of independent, I'm seeing Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey this Sunday, this Sunday. At the Prince Charles Cinema in London. Awesome sauce.
Very cool. You have to report back how it was.
Can't wait to hear about it because I see it's getting released on video too as well. So there you go. And then we got Jeremiah Hembry here who says, have you heard of Star Trek Continues Online is done by a fan? Yes, heard of it. Isn't that the one that Vic Mignon is a part of?
I believe so.
Yes, so I'm familiar with it. Yes,
we are familiar with its existence. Have not really seen it.
Yeah,
I'll watch a fan short film, but that's I don't even have time to watch the proper TV series I should be watching as it is. Just put it that way.
Exactly. Adam Wolford says about fan film Hired Steel, Battletech episode 3 today. Well, there you go. So if you're a fan of Battletech, that's up. The Magnum North says Taylor Sheridan is awesome. Peep Sicario. Yes, I have seen Sicario. Actually, that's probably one of my least favorite of his. To be honest with you, I mean, I like it. Don't get me wrong. It's just on the level of things that I like of Taylor Sheridan's, that's probably near the bottom. Have you seen Sicario yet, Andre?
Not yet. No.
Okay, it's good, but I feel like Denny Villeneuve took what was a very that guy took what was a very simplified script that Sheridan and whoever it was that wrote with him on it probably did and overcomplicated it a little bit.
Oh, okay.
And he made the lead actress a little unlikable. But other than that, I liked it. I liked the story, but it just kind of felt like the lead character was like working against the script through most of the movie. STR Red Wolf says Amazon Prime 2-day shipping depends on where you are. I still get 2-day shipping on most items I'm near. And this is true too. Very true, STR Red Wolf. But I just wanted to point that out because I noticed they did that to me starting a couple weeks ago, where if I don't click on the 2-day shipping or if I haven't changed it, it would just go to the week thing where I have my Prime Day. But yes, that's true too. Depending on where you live and what you're ordering, that also matters. God King Dictator South Africa says sending love to seasons 2 to 4 of Superboy is awesome. I vaguely remember the show, but not too much. But I remember they changed actors in season 2. I think that's why he's saying that. Adam Ofer says, so you know Marvel has their own version of Spawn. He's called Nightwatch. His outfit looks very close to Spawn's. You should check it out.
Well, I'm not surprised, but isn't like Spawn already kind of a ripoff of Ghost Rider a little bit? I certainly saw some similarities there. But hey, yeah, why not rip off the ripoff? Go for it.
Yeah, that's one of those things where we had a lot of those kind of characters, and then also there's a little bit of Crow in there too, if you think about it.
Yeah, maybe.
The Walt Man says, which is funny because those all go back to High Plains Drifter. Walt Man says, highly suggest reading parts of the Wired review of Hogwarts, mainly with how the review starts and it threw in anti-Semitism for good. Oh yeah, that would really, jeez. Do we really want to read it then? Like,
actually we do, just for shits and giggles to see how they were able to get that in there. Which review?
Wired
was this?
Hogwarts.
Wired.
So we'll come back to that
review. Okay, we'll have to find that one.
And then Mecha J says it was awesome to see Drinker on after you guys. His videos are the ones I watch the most. Well, thank you. You guys should have him on more when you can. Oh, dude, trust me, Mecha. We bug him constantly. He is a very busy man. And I don't mean constantly, but I mean, we ask him periodically as often as we can without being annoying. Can you spend some time with us? You know, so yeah, it's difficult. He's a very, 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 very busy man, but we do when we can. And that's why it's a special event when we do get a chance to talk to him.
Yeah.
All right. So did we find this Wired review?
Yes, I did. I have it right here. This is editorial stuff. That's why I wanted to here's an editorial. So we'll revisit this later on. Yeah, it's a real doozy. What they say here is that the game is mid at best, and its real-world harms are impossible to ignore. And neither is such
it's real world harms. Oh my God. Did it kill 3 people in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, evidently. That's kind of what they're going with. So
that's their whole review?
Well, of course, that's not the whole review. I'm saying.
Oh, okay. I was like waiting for the anti-Semitism here. I was like, what?
Oh, yeah, no, that's the byline. Oh, I'll do a video on the whole review here.
Oh, well, you just bought yourself a video then. There you go.
Yeah. There you go. So, yeah, and with that, I do believe we are caught up.
All right. So with that, Mega Zero says, I still want an Icon and Static Shock movies.
I believe that Static Shock was in development at one point, certainly being considered and planned, but that was pre-Gun. Post-Gun, who the heck knows?
And these are characters I can see Gunn utilizing at some point anyway, if he were to get to. So you may get your wish. I'm not going to give you, I have nothing to go on as far as like getting anything like that, but just knowing the kind of characters. Yeah. There we go.
Yeah, could be.
And with that,
it's time to say thanks to everyone who were watching.
Yes.
Do check out all of the panelists. Check out the latest videos from both WDW Pro and Valiant Renegade, and of course Chato and Culture and Critical Drinkers videos. You all check out anyway, but do watch them regardless. And Miguel Farra says, for 1 Chilean pesos or 1,000 Chilean pesos, pointless last-minute chat for no good reason. Oh, well, we appreciate those. Those are often the most fun.
Indeed. And then Six also points out, yes, thank you to all the mods. And Six, of course, for all that she does as well.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much, guys. Oh, and then Matt, I'm so sorry. You just get here and we're leaving. Well, you should get here earlier. We're 3 hours into the show, man.
Yeah, exactly.
How you doing, Matt?
Crossing 3-hour mark now.
Exactly.
And with that, it is time for some koalas in the rain.
Koalas in the rain, koalas in the rain, no fucks given. Koala, koalas in the rain, koalas in the rain, no fucks given.